everybody, and welcome along to the first qualifying session of the 24 Hours of Le Mans here in the Virtual Endurance Championship. And, well, Le Mans qualifying completely different to any other race we've done this season. We have dedicated qualifying sessions coming at you today and tomorrow. The first of them coming up very soon for you here at the fantastic Le Mans circuit. We have cars, we have LMP1s, LMP2s, GTs, all going to go out at the same time, and whoever is at the top of this session at the end of the 2 hours will be in a very good place, because yes, there's a session tomorrow, but bragging rights certainly to be owed by the team who come out on the top of this session in each class. That's for certain in this first qualifying of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'm Josh Randerson, and for the next 2 hours, I'll be talking you through what's going through on track, and I'm joined by not one, but two fantastic co-commentators. We have, as ever, Neil Heatley beside me, the Scotsman himself, and we're also joined by one of the drivers from one of the 199 Realish Racing car from the Virtual Le Mans series, Craig Wallard. Neil, Craig, great to have you with us.
Indeed, good to be here.
Hello Josh, hello simracing.club fans and virtual endurance fans around the world.
It is fantastic to have you both here, and of course, Neil, you're no stranger to the commentary box, and this qualifying session, 2 hours of cars trying to go as fast as they can, it's going to be something special, isn't it?
It's something certainly very different from what we have normally here in the Virtual Endurance Championship. Usually it's split into GTs and prototypes with just a 20-minute session each, but for Le Mans, to help emulate a little bit of the Le Mans atmosphere, if you will, we have two 2-hour sessions, one today in the day and one tomorrow at night, so certainly something very different from usual.
Yeah, it is a different session, it's a completely different ballpark. 2 full hours, multi-class qualifying, a completely different challenge. And Craig, the first time for you in the commentary box, you're looking forward to it too?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what qualifying is like with 3 different classes on the track at the same time. Those who tuned in to the 12 hours were able to see what having 2 different types of classes on the track at the same time was like, and that caused complete and utter chaos. So I'm expecting absolute carnage with 3 classes on the track tonight.
Well, I'm sure it'll be controlled carnage from all the drivers. There will be no shortage of solid lap times going to be put in. I think it's going to be a fantastic qualifying session, and it should really pose a challenge because we've got 3 different classes, LMP1, LMP2 and LMGT, all going out at once and racing around this Le Mans circuit. Our own unique configuration of Le Mans, of course, specially designed for simracing.club and the Virtual Endurance Championship. So, you know, it is a fully modern Le Mans. It's got every single little thing you'd expect from the actual track, Neil.
It did an absolutely fantastic version of the track that we're using, getting all the bumps, certainly down the back along the Mulsanne Straight, because that is still public road, you've got to remember. Throughout the rest of the year it's public road, but for just these 2 weeks in June it is closed off to the public, so it's got all the bumps and humps and, you know, small potholes and everything that that, you know, real roads do, and that's been translated beautifully into rFactor too.
It has been, really, and, well, we talk about multi-class sessions. Craig, you're obviously quite experienced in GT cars within the Virtual Le Mans series, the feeder series, of course, of the Virtual Endurance Championship, and the 199 Realish Racing Ferrari 458, so you will know firsthand that, you know, having experience of prototypes in the race, how difficult is it going to be for these GT drivers to negotiate not just prototype 2s, but prototype 1s?
Well, I don't actually have any experience of this particular track in the race situation because our race kind of ended early. But throughout the season that's just finished, yeah, P2s was, well, you know, the time differential between P2 and GT was massive as it was. So if you chuck in another huge step in there as well, that's absolutely huge. Le Mans is a really long track though, so to a degree traffic isn't going to be as much of a problem, but we've got extra entries for this particular race as well, so that will add an extra element, and it's such a long race as well. You're going to come up to cars constantly even though it is such a long track.
Yeah, of course, and that is something that we can't forget either. We have some extra entries to this race for the Le Mans only, a bit of a special special treat given to some virtual Le Mans Series teams, as I'm sure you'll know, Craig, because they've just moved up and you've heard the news. We've got some teams that have been invited into Room 1 from the virtual Le Mans Series for this race only, and well, I can run you through those now before the qualifying session actually starts. And the first of those is the number 139 Drake Racing, the Fanatic Drake Racing 139 prototype. That's being piloted by Thomas Luthi at the moment, and he, I believe, is going to be one of the qualifying drivers in that 139. And Neil, you'll know from commentating with me on the virtual Le Mans Series, that has been a solid prototype all throughout the VLMS season.
It has been a very solid prototype. Maybe not always up there in pure pace, but just through pure consistency, and that's what they've really shown themselves to be very good at over the past season in the virtual Le Mans Series.
Yep, they've proven themselves to be very consistent and very good, and they've really been up there all of the time. I'm not sure how much of an experience you had with them, Craig, but as, you know, from a GT point of view as a prototype, you must have been impressed by how well they've done this season.
Oh yeah, certainly. I think there was a lot of really strong teams and drivers across the field in virtual Le Mans Series. We were more than happy just to have some sort of representative pace most of the time. So that's definitely something. There's a lot of really strong drivers as well. There's a few overlapping between virtual Le Mans Series and VEC though, so there's been a few driver changes here and there to make space for these new entries. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there has been driver changes as well. We'll get to that in a minute, but we have obviously more than just the Drake car in this special entry sort of position where teams get invited. The 175 Caspian Motorsport car has also been brought up from the virtual Le Mans Series. That's being driven by Amit Demakan at the moment, and it's a BMW Z4, so we have a Z4 in Room 1, Neil.
Indeed, Z4, indeed, in the virtual Le Mans Series, it was the only BMW Z4 there as well, so very, very unique, the Caspian Motorsport car, and throughout the entire broadcast, both today, tomorrow, and the race, you can tell which cars are the virtual Le Mans Series cars because they've got the 1 in front of their number to help differentiate them, because that's the numbers that they use in the virtual Le Mans Series. So if you see a 1 before the number, that's one of our special entries.
Yep, triple-digit cars are VLMS specials, double-digit cars and single-digit cars are the VEC regulars. That is your helping hand for this race. It's not just the Caspian team have been promoted either. We also say a very big Virtual Endurance Championship hello to none other than a certain Corvette that's been brought up from the Virtual Le Mans Series, and that would be, I believe, that is the Witchwood GT car, the Corvette, that's been brought up from the VLMS, the number 169.
Indeed, bright yellow, the Witchwood car. They were doing fairly well at Le Mans as well until that had to be red flagged, and they've been very good throughout the season actually. Just always there picking up pieces, and sometimes that's all you need to do in endurance racing, is just to be there at the end, and you'll come out with a good result. And that's exactly what the Witchwood team have done.
That's all you have to do, yeah? Just come out with a good result at the end of it. And it's all about consistency and just staying on the loud pedal as long as you can and just keeping going for the best result. And even if you don't win all the races, it's sometimes second place is going to be good enough if you just have a go. You know, that's what it's about. Just give it a go, and that's what they've done. They've given it a go. Really, and they've obviously proven their worth and gotten themselves into the VEC Room 1. And, well, qualifying is about to start here in the Virtual Endurance Championship, and, well, it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes, this 2-hour session.
And indeed, we do have a 4th entry from the Virtual Le Mans Series in Room 1 this time round. It's number 170 RSA Protea Sim Sports car, the South African entry. Very distinguishable by the South African flag draped across the roof of their car. They are not currently participating in this session, but indeed because we've got 2 sessions, you do not have to take part in both of them. You can just take part in one if you wish, but indeed that is the fourth VLMS entry, and very distinctive as well.
Yeah, you can't miss it, the RSA Protea Sim Sports car at all. Very distinctive, and the South Africa team obviously, you know, doing very well in the VLMS, taking up their invite as well. So, you know, it goes to show, Craig, you know, teams can make it up to the VEC through the VLMS.
Yep, certainly. Well, that's the whole point of the VOMS. It is the feeder series for the VEC. It's a good place for, like I said earlier, there's a lot of VEC drivers that do participate in the VOMS as well. So it's a good place for, you know, prospective drivers to come and compare themselves to some of the finest around.
Yep, obviously, you know, really, really good for that, and, you know, that's why we implemented it, of course. You know, this whole system that we have with the Virtual LMCs, the Virtual Endurance Championship, and, of course, the SimRacing.Club Academy, which, of course, can be your very first step to endurance racing at SRC. If you want to get involved, but you don't know how, it's actually quite simple. All you have to do first is sign yourself up to the SimRacing.Club forums, get yourself involved and introduce yourself. We're very friendly, we don't bite, and, well, it'll grant you access into the SimRacing.Club Academy, which is your way into these series. All you have to do is complete a season of that, and you might be selected to be given a SimRacing.Club License 4, which allows you to enter the Virtual Le Mans series. And from there, you can be scouted by a team, and if you do well enough in that, maybe make your way up into the Virtual Endurance Championship proper.
Indeed, it's a fantastic ladder program that we've got here, isn't it?
It is, so much so that you even tried it yourself, Neil.
Try being the operative word in that sentence.
I think the less said of that, the better, to be honest.
Yeah, let's say Neil wasn't quite successful in getting his license, but you might be, so why not head over to SimRacing.Club and get yourself signed up, and you can have a go and try and beat Neil Heatley. Yeah, so as you'll probably see on our broadcast screen here, we have a fantastic looking tower graphic on our screen. That's just been redone with I believe we're the only league actually that currently has a working and, well, or one of the only leagues that has a DirectX 11 overlay as well. So really putting out all stops.
Indeed, especially done by members here at the SRC. They've done a fantastic job in order to be able to get the sort of like tower and the ticker working in DX11, so a thoroughly unique experience here at SimRacing.Club.
Yeah, and of course you'll see in the bottom left there, you've got our social media links, SimRacing.Club on the Facebook, and of course our commentary team in the bottom left as well as we come up, and you'll see the lovely tower there just showing all the classes. Red is LMP1, blue is LMP2, green is LMGT. Really is a lovely flashy thing, isn't it? It's absolutely wonderfully done.
It is, and of course it's very simple to see what the numbers as well and the colours, as you say, so you can easily just see where each class is.
And of course, we talk about DirectX 11. This is actually, I believe, our first broadcast in DirectX 11 at SimRacing.Club. So, you know, be the forefront of high-end graphics. You can see how lovely these prototypes look as we go around. I'm watching Yuri Kastorp, who I believe is going to be the first to complete a lap in the Vela SimSport Audi R18. You can just see how lovely the car looks as it's coming around the 4 chicanes now. Of course, all of the car skins being reworked for DirectX 11. All of the teams getting their managers and designers to rework these skins. The cars look absolutely sensational.
Indeed, some of them really shine. For example, the Vela SimSport car, number 21, with Yuri Kastorp currently at the wheel. That white is just extraordinary. The same with the Warmup car currently being piloted by. Who's that currently being piloted by? I can't quite. Nico Barclay's at the wheel at the moment. That very distinctive orange and black livery, you'll have seen it in the VLMS if you've watched that, and indeed here in the VEC, a very distinctive livery there from the Warmup ECR team.
Yeah, very distinctive, that Warmup car. You can tell it from a mile off, but yeah, it definitely looks like a lovely car, and I'm sure he'll do some lovely laps with Nico Barclay. Very capable driver.
I've currently got my own screen with DX9 on, and I've got DX11 in view as well. And what a sight it is in DX11 compared to DX9. It is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it absolutely pulls apart, isn't it really, Neil? Just looks so much better.
Indeed, especially all these sort of like camera focuses as well, as you can see on the screen. You know, it's slightly blurry towards the forefront, and as the car just moves away, it just starts to come in focus again. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it does look absolutely fantastic. Great work by Studio 397 to get this obviously updated to DirectX 11 standards, and, you know, it's showing on all these cars, as I say, all we worked to fit new DirectX 11 requirements for skins. So, you know, a lot of work and dedication has gone into this, not just from the management side, Studio 397, but from the teams and drivers here too.
Indeed, and from people who are doing you know, sort of extra banners and logos around the track. A couple of people from the club have been adding these in and designing them just to make it an even more immersive experience for us.
Yeah, it is, obviously, all these banners and things, you know, making it look fantastic, and just really, this is what it's about, really. Just, this is the future right here. We're seeing it in this qualifying session so far. I'm watching Yuri Kazdorp, again, as I said, in the Velis SimSport number 21 car, currently in 4th place overall, but no times have been set yet, so that really does mean nothing. But yeah, I believe the Velis car will be the first to set, well, it would have been the first to settle up, but he's just made a slightly pig's ear of that as he comes around the corner there. That was not the best exit in the world.
It's kept going though, so we'll see what this lap time. These lap times at the moment aren't going to be representative at all. The track's going to be, you know, quite green right now, but there's a lot of cars on the track, so they're going to clean it up pretty quickly. At this stage of the session, what I personally would do is put in a load of fuel, put on some, you know, harder tyres, and just drive around and simulate one of the early phases of the race. And then later on in the session, take all the fuel out, whack on your qualifying setup, and absolutely hammer it, because there'll be lots of grip on the track by then.
Yeah, well, we talk about Studio 397. None other than Marcel Offermans will be qualifying in this session. Of course, the head honcho, I believe, of Studio 397. Kazdorp sets the first time, though, 3:22.686. Thus, we saw the big slide out of that corner. Nicky Jakovic has gone just 6/10 quicker in the Team Virus number 4, Porsche 919. And the times, as we say, are starting to roll in. They won't represent anything, but we are starting to get these times coming in now. We have Vodbull qualifying. We have Monaco qualifying. A couple of cars getting themselves in the running order so far. And as we say, it will take a time before we get representative laps. Now, at least, it's just about getting a feel for these prototypes.
Indeed, it's also what Craig was alluding to earlier, you know, just putting in all the fuel and putting in harder tyres. Even though Le Mans is a massive track, it's almost 8.5 miles in length. There are 38 cars on the track, and that doesn't sound bad, but you can be surprised how quickly you can come up on them, especially in these LMP1 cars, because these LMP1 cars are a good 35 seconds a lap faster than the GT cars.
You say that, Neil. I just watched Ojala get caught up by a GT. Now, in this session, if you catch up to a slower car, you can't expect him to move out of the way. That is the wonders of multi-class qualifying. It's something we saw in the VOMS. If you catch up to a slower car in the middle of the Porsche curves, for example, you're going to be screwed. And to a degree, it's kind of the same for the GTs, because these quicker cars can put you off and really distract you, and you run a little bit wide and that lap's gone.
Yeah, it can really hold you up if you get held behind a GT. Tommy Oyala, of course, one of the 2 drivers in Nissan GTR LM Nismos. Of course, the Magenta Warriors 24 car, although they appear to have rebranded themselves as Mustard Warriors for the Le Mans, because they have a very, very bright yellow Nissan going around the track at the moment. Oyala, of course, driving for them. The other GTR LM Nismo, of course, you can't really miss them, belongs to GNS Endurance. And I'm sure we'll be looking at them several points throughout this qualifying session. But Oyala, despite the fact he got held up, he's 5 seconds down on the likes of Barkley at the moment. Again, as we see these early lap times, not really representative, but a bit off pace perhaps. But I'm sure when he doesn't get stuck in traffic, he can go a lot quicker than that.
Oh yes, we've seen how extraordinarily fast that Nismo GTR LM can be. Of course, a completely different drivetrain from the Audi and the Porsche that we've got here. It's a front-wheel drive, and they've had to be they've had to have some aero restrictions for Le Mans to bring them in line with the Audi and the Porsche.
Yeah, they have. They've actually had to have a balance of performance package installed, and well, that's been done, which has brought them in a little bit fairer to where they would be. But yeah, that has been done, and yeah, obviously, you know, it's important we have balance between all three prototypes that we have, the Audi, the Porsche, and the Nissan. Of course, the Rebellion R1, I believe, was an option, but nobody picked it up at the start of the season, so that could have been a fourth. But yet, three prototypes in the LMP1 field is still a good amount of variety, I guess. It's not quite as much variety as you might like, but LMP1 is more of a constructor-manufacturer class anyway. You'd expect, really, you know, other prototype classes and GT classes to be the ones we see variety.
Indeed, and we've got those three different marks in P1. Of course, in P2, we don't have that luxury. It's just a spec class, all Oracle 05 Nissans.
Yep, just the same prototype all round. I've actually had a bit of running in that in general tracks over the season. It's not really my cup of tea personally, but it is a very nice experience, a lovely car to drive. Just to drive. I'm not quick in it, but, you know, fantastic feeling prototypes. I'm sure these drivers will all be enjoying their laps very much as they go round the circuit. Nicky Jakovic, of course, still on pole position with 10 minutes gone in the session, though, you know, really, until the first hour is done, we won't see any proper representative lap times, I don't feel. And even then, it might come down to a last lap shootout between some of these cars. That's how interesting qualifying can be sometimes. And, of course, this isn't it. There is another qualifying session going on tomorrow, but this is just the first of them. And, well, teams aren't obligated to come to both sessions, but it is advised.
However, if you look at the weather forecast for tomorrow, the times from today might just be the qualifying times.
Yes, because there's rain on the horizon potentially tomorrow in the first portion of tomorrow's session, so a lot of teams will want to turn up today, you feel, Neil.
Indeed, and of course tomorrow's session is a night session as well, so the temperature will be cooler, the track will be slightly cooler, which does allow you to go faster. However, coupled with the night and just sort of like the vision and perhaps the bravery, you might not necessarily go any faster, and with the rain looming ahead, it's going to be very interesting to see what times people can put in, and indeed whether the rain does come tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see whether it comes along tomorrow and what effect it may bring onto the qualifying session. I think some times are improving, but I'm going to look further down into the Prototype 2 field. Michael Barnard currently leading that for Flatline Racing in the number 31 car there, and behind is Stefan Holtzkamp in the Magenta Warriors. Now, there is a Magenta Warriors car. You can see the purple on it. But again, it's been redone. There has, you know, got a bit of a nice little revamp for Le Mans. I mean, teams can do Le Mans specials. The Holtzkamp has decided to abort his current lap. Carsten Dynegard in the Undercover Sim Racing, the number 50, currently third in class. Then it is the number 32 car. Then our special 139 Drag Racing promoted VLMS car in 5th place overall. So, really sticking it to the regulars here.
Indeed, we've got nine Prototype 2s in this session at the moment. Thomas Luthi 5th, the other four, I should say rather, have not yet set time, so we've just got to see what he can do. As he comes across the start-finish line again, does he go any faster? He does go faster. His last lap was a 3:45, definitely not representative. Perhaps got a little bit of traffic or a massive slide there. That next lap at 3:42, but we know that Fanatec Dre car can go so much faster.
Yeah, we know that car has a lot of pace in it. We know Thomas Luthi has a lot of pace in him as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he does. And, well, a couple of other drivers, you know, as we talked about driver changes before, there's a lot of drivers in this field that have been brought in just for Le Mans, and one of them is currently sitting in 4th place overall. And it is a pleasure to see him back in the Virtual Endurance Championship as a driver. It is none other than Stephen Bailey in that number 3 Doug Henson racing car. Of course, an instrumental part of the team when I commentated on them last season was Bailey. And he just has this iron-like consistency, and he is just the sort of driver that I think Doug Henson Racing are going to need in this 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Indeed, he's very much a bit of a Le Mans specialist, this Stephen Bailey. He's done so many laps around here, and yes, an absolute monster in these Audi R18s.
Yeah, definitely one of the fastest drivers in VEC, and always someone who you got to watch out for. So consistent. I almost called him Bailey the Machine last year. Practically never made a single mistake, and it is such an honour and a privilege to be able to commentate on him once again in the VEC. Of course, in that number 3 car, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see how they do. And it's not just Stephen Bailey they brought in as well. It seems that Doug Henson Racing have pulled off the master of all signings, if Bailey wasn't good enough, look who they've got in the number 2 car. It's none other than Nikitin Wisniewski. Now, Wisniewski drove for Feeder Ragnar Simulator earlier in the season. I do believe they're not taking part at Le Mans, though. So Nikitin has signed with Doug Henson Racing in the number 2 car.
Of course, the number 1 was the Feeder Ragnar Simulator car from Poland, reigning champions. Not turning up for Le Mans, not defending their championship, so we are going to have new champions in the in the VEC this season. So we're just going to see who's going to bear that number 1 next year.
It might yet be Doug Henson Racing for all we know. That number 2 car is one of the cars that is in contention for the championship. They will need quite a bit of things to go their way, I believe, if they're going to win it. But it could still happen. They are in title contention, that number 2 car. And it could be, next season, numbers 1 and 2 for Doug Henson Racing.
It could well be. That would be absolutely fantastic for the outfit.
It would be great for them. That would be Sharon Stephen Bailey, of course, I'm sure, in that number 3 will be helping to get Doug Henson Racing a win, at least at Le Mans, even if the 2 can't do it. Bailey, I'm sure, will help the number 3 too. And of course, Stephen Bailey, we've got quite a bit to thank him for, actually. He's actually been working on our trackside billboards and, you know, working on those on the graphic side of things. So massive thanks to him for that. And of course, Bryce Lowe for the logos that we've got on our overlay, as well as talking about the graphic side of things and further on the graphic side of things. We also get to thank a certain Povelas Coin Machinist as well for doing our fantastic overlay that we have.
Indeed, it's absolutely fantastic to see this overlay in DX11, one of the only ones around. In fact, I do believe it is the only one around. So a fantastic tech job there by Coin. As I'm just having a look in the GT class, talking about VLMS sign-ups, they're doing extremely well at the moment. Fabio Cagnoli in the Witchwood car has just gone 4th in GTs. Ahmed Demirkan is currently 7th in the GTs. The VLMS car certainly putting the challenge to the VEC regulars.
Yeah, they're throwing it to the big boys here. They're saying, hey, we might be VLMS teams, but we can stick it to you guys as much as anything. And Craig, you'll know firsthand that the quality of the field in VLMS, you know, not to be underestimated.
Absolutely. Well, it makes me feel less bad about, you know, being several seconds off their pace now. But, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised at how quickly they've adapted to this. Obviously, they've got experience around this track from the 12 hours, but yeah, to come in and stamp their authority like this early on is definitely interesting, and I suppose a lot of these teams will be thinking we might just have to see if we can get in full-time for next season.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to have, you know, Realist Racing in the full-on VEC. It would be lovely to have you up here. You've been really one of the more consistent teams this season, from my own experience. So, you know, it'd be lovely to have you.
Maybe not with me driving, no. But,
I'm not sure consistent is the right term.
Yeah,
oh, well,
we were consistently off the pace.
Average.
Well, you've definitely been one of the more enjoyable teams to commentate on. But yes, you know, it's been great having you about. Hopefully we will see you in the VEC one day. And of course, team managers are more than welcome to submit applications when applications open for Season 10 to try and get yourself into the Virtual Endurance Championship. If you don't get in, don't worry, there is still the Virtual Le Mans Series to enter. And of course, we have all our other series going on that we host as well. And I'm sure there'll be news on those very soon. So please do keep an eye on our social media for that when it comes about. With about 20 minutes to go in the session, then about 1 hour and 41 left to go. Still Team Virus on top in LMP1, and in LMP2, of course, it is still Flatline Racing leading those standings, and Vela Simsport leading in the GTs at the moment, just as a quick reminder. Of course, this is
the Vela's 1-2 at the moment in GT.
Yeah, you're right, it is the Vela's 1-2 in GT. They have a very big stranglehold at the moment. They have Jonas Raivio on the number 89 car there in the GT, and then they have Arne Schoenfleet. Arne Schoenfleet in the 94, so 89-94 is the order for Velas. Definitely doing a good job at the moment. I believe Velas started the season as Revolution Racing, but then rebranded midway through, and, well, they've just carried their dominance on, really.
Indeed, in that 94 car is one to keep an eye on, because they're the current championship leaders in the LMGT class, so they'll be wanting to get a good qualifying session, try and be out of that absolutely hectic mid-pack we have here in the GT cars.
Yep, really got to keep themselves going at the moment, and it's really looking good. for them at the moment as well as SimSport. Don't forget Scuderia GT Italia in the 91 Corvette behind, though. They're looking just as good. And then you got Bram Balin in the 66 SLVN car, so a lot of competition in the GT fields.
Indeed, the Eunice Ravio we've seen in the VLMS. He's an absolutely fantastic driver, absolutely metronomical, and insanely quick. And indeed, Alessandro Puotti, we have seen him in the VLMS as well from that Scuderia GT Italia squad, the 91 car. Another one of the Corvettes. A lot of Corvettes here in the GT class, but indeed, that Scuderia GT Italia car, and indeed the entire squad has been fantastic this season.
Yeah, they have done. That SLVN car looks very nice in its Dutch orange, and, you know, it really is a striking car, and a lot of the GT teams, you know, have brought striking liveries along as well. It's so nice to see this colourful field. Really
indeed, there's so many absolutely vibrant liveries, such as having a look at the LMP1 field. You've got the GNS car with the very traditional Nissan colours, the red, the white and the blue. You've got the Wanako car with the very vibrant orange and black, and then you've got the Doug Henson racing cars with the very Audi factory-like livery, the black and white with just the hints of red, a very factory-like livery, if you will. So lots of different cars, lots of different liveries here.
Yeah, lots of different liveries, lots of very slick-looking cars to go along with the slick-looking graphics we have. Again, you know, big thanks who made that. We got some fantastic comments coming in about it. I've just seen Cameron Brewster in the comments is saying that he's giving props to our in-house code monkeys and, you know, commending us on our glorious plugin. Thanks very much, Cameron, for the praise towards the plugin and the graphics. You can thank Populus Machinas for that. You can thank him for that because he's the one who did the graphics for the overlay. Of course, Stephen Bailey and Bryce Lowe as well. Big thanks to them for the billboards and the logos that we use on our overlay and our track and overlay respectively as well. A lot of in-house work done by simracing.club on these fantastic looking things, and we really could not do them without the help of our own community, and other people have helped as well. And of course, rFactor 2 for making, you know, for making this brilliant simulator as well. I mean, we wouldn't be here without a brilliant simulator, would we, Neil?
Indeed we wouldn't be, but just having a look towards the top of the timings, Nicky Jakovic has got a 0.53 of a second lead over Yuri Kastrup at the moment. Now, that might not sound a lot, but when you look, that same gap covers 2nd to 7th. It's quite a large gap that Jakovic in the Porsche 919 Virus car, the number 4, has got at the moment.
Yeah, the Porsche 919, very interesting in terms of its characteristics. I drove that once. I've been giving it a bit of a test drive, the Porsche. It's my personal favourite out of the LMP ones to drive, even though it's maybe perhaps not as user-friendly as, say, the Audi is, because it can be quite twitchy, the Porsche. Of course, petrol-powered compared to the diesel power of the Audi, it can be quite twitchy, but it has a bit of a drive out of the corners. It has some really good acceleration out of the bends, and that's helped Team Virus and the other Porsche teams this season so far on some of the tighter circuits.
Indeed, some of the tighter circuits that we have visited this season, for example, Interlagos, you know, you need that acceleration, certainly that middle sector and coming out of Junção towards the end of the lap. Istanbul as well, we've been to, the same for Silverstone, Sepang and Sebring. So a lot of these tracks have had acceleration zones, which is kind of leaning towards the Porsche at the moment.
And that is rebuffed by the fact that James Johnson has just gone quickest with a 3:21.590, less than a tenth quicker than Jakovic. And which car is the Vodbull? The Porsche.
That's a Porsche, yes, good spot, Craig. And yeah, that is now pole position for the Vodbull team. Of course, you know, I've commentated on Vodbull a lot wherever I've gone, but, you know, endurance racing, and, you know, it's the first time I've seen them in an endurance capacity, you know. Well, I dare say the first time. I think they were around last year in a GT capacity, but in a prototype at least, in top flight endurance racing, in the top class of an endurance series. This is the first time I've commentated on them, and to go pole even provisionally shows how good they are. Of course, I had a GT team in Season 8, but again, first time in a prototype, and they're doing quite well.
Indeed, and they're one of the four LMP1 cars that are still in with a shout for the title. So yes, this qualifying session is very important for them, as well for Virus, wanting to try and protect their lead in the LMP1 field.
Yeah, and, you know, it's really just they're doing a good job this season as well. They'd even be in contention with the championship. You know, I'm not saying that they wouldn't expect to be. I know Vodbor are a super competitive team. They expect to win. You know, they want wins, but you know, they've been taking it very well this season. James Johnson being a very, very reliable driver, and I'm going to be interested to see if they can pull it off at Le Mans. Of course, I think they're third in the LMP1 standings at the moment, but yeah, things going good at the moment for them. And of course, we say Porsche's 1 and 2 at the moment, so acceleration helping them.
Indeed, especially out of those 2 chicanes, and coming out of really the first kind of sector, out of the Dunlop chicane, out of Tetra Rouge as well. You need massive acceleration out of there.
Yeah, you need acceleration in some points of this track. So there's some places where top-end speed helps, and Craig, I'm sure you know you'll understand. You know, sometimes you'll need straight-line speed, but you know, Le Mans is such a mixed track. You need corner ability too.
Yeah, that's something we found when we were developing our setup for this particular race. You can just take all of the downforce off, but we found with the Ferrari especially that it's just so unstable through the quick corners that you're just losing so much time. We eventually found a pretty good compromise, or what we thought was a pretty good compromise. But yeah, we found that running just a tiny bit of wing was helpful, but you don't want too much because otherwise you're just going to get swamped on the straights. We found that the GTs were still hitting well over 300 kilometers an hour, though, even with adding a little bit of downforce on. So
yeah, I mean, hang on, I believe, actually, unfortunately, we are having a couple of graphical issues with the stream at the moment, and the picture's frozen. Apologies for this, but we're just really just keeping, you know, trying to keep you informed as to what's going on. Don't leave us, of course. You know, we will get this sorted and fixed, although it is going to be kind of radio VEC at the moment, at least, until we can get this sorted. But I'm sure we will get it sorted, though. There is still a lot of time left in this broadcast. So, you know, we're going to get this done and, you know, sorted. So, yeah, you know, we will keep you informed as to what's going on. But, yes, as we say, straight line speed, really important for, you know, Le Mans in places. As you've got the run around into the chicanes, you've got the faster sections, but then you've got the places like the Porsche curves and, you know, the 4 chicanes, where, Neil, you just need that little bit extra drive out the corners.
You need a little bit of that downforce as well. You might think Le Mans is a pure straight line track because of the massive straights we've got here, but there's no use having massive straight line speed if you're going to understeer straight off at the Porsche curves at Indianapolis, through that first sector up towards Tetra Rouge. There's no use having all the straight line speed in the world if you're going to just slide off there. So it's a little bit of a balancing act you need between the downforce and the straight line speed.
Yeah, you need to balance it out, really. And, well, one car that's not going to suffer with straight line speed at this track is the Nissan GTR LM Nismo. I'm just watching Joe Ciampa come through in Indianapolis now in the 22 GNS car. And, you know, that is not a car that's going to struggle with straight line speed. As we've seen throughout the season, the Nismo quite clearly the fastest out of any car in a straight line. But it suffers because, you know, it's front wheel drive and that can hurt it in the corners sometimes.
Indeed, especially here, like at the Porsche curves, for example, it just absolutely kills those front tyres.
Yeah, it's going to hurt because you've got your front-wheel drive drivetrain, power and steering at the same time. Back wheels really just keeping that back end of the car on the ground, not doing an awful lot. Well, it's doing a bit. It is doing a bit. You know, it's got some of the power going to it. It's not a full front-wheel drive. I believe the power split is locked to 70-30. So 30% of the power going to the rear wheels, but most of it going to the front. So effectively a front-wheel drive LMP1 car going around the circuit, as I do believe we can now welcome our first guest of the broadcast in a certain Mr. Ed Trevelyan Johnson. Hello.
Hello there.
Great to have you with us, Ed. And of course,
Great to
you
be
know,
here.
it's great to have you with us, and well, fantastic to have you here. Really, just Le Mans. It's one of those tracks, isn't it? It just, you can't help but be excited about it.
Indeed. I thought I'd just come on to grab a little moment while we were on pole, but it seems that's already passed, I'm afraid. So
Here's the
I'm
2
sad about
cars
that.
going to go with Wisniewski at the wheel of that number 2 THR car. A 21.363 for them.
Yep, they've just gone pole there with a 321.363. I'm so used to commentating on shorter set because I got a 1 at the start there. But
Kasdorp's
yes,
gone
oh,
for just-
Kasdorp has just usurped him. Come to good spot, Craig Woolard. Goes higher again, 321.25. The game very much afoot, as well as SimSport on pole position. I'm sure Llewellyn Johnson will be happy to hear that.
Well, I might have been if I was still in their team as I was last season. But yeah, no, it's good to see them doing well. If anyone's doing well in the other classes other than LMP1, I prefer to be Velez, because I have quite a strong bond with them. So yeah, I'm quite happy about that, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, former driver for them, so you know you got a bit of a strong bond there, and that's it's good to see sometimes teams that you've driven for, go on pole position. I mean, I'm just looking through. I don't think my sim racing career is storied enough to see. Well, I have driven for Magenta Warriors before, so there's that. So I guess as a sort of ex-driver bond, there's that going for them. I guess I can root for them in a sense, but I'm not so lucky as
teams.
I'm not so lucky as to have a team that I've driven for to be able to, cheer for all of the time. I'm not that good in sim racing that people want us to drive for them all the time. Drake Racing's one though, and the VLMS entry. Fanatic Drake Racing's another one that I might cheer on. I've driven for them before too.
Also, just another thing I wanted to mention just by coming on is I see what people are saying in the chat on YouTube. We are aware of these freezes that are happening, and we're working on reducing them at the very least, if not obliterating them. So just keep together, guys. We'll try to fix it. This is all new stuff. Pretty much everything you're seeing is new for SRC, so just bear with us. You'll get what you want.
Yeah, we will. We'll get that fixed again. Apologies that they're recurring in the first place, but yes, as I said, all new stuff, so there is teething problems, I guess, that. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the qualifying session advances, at least, Ed, because we've got a lot of good talent in this field.
Yeah, and also if I've just seen that Mr. Domino Duhan is in the YouTube chat, so if you want to ask him about the game instead of asking us about why we're freezing, then go ahead with that. No, I'm sure it's not a game. But yes, no, one of the Studio 397 bods in the chat I can see. Nice to see him joining us for the qualifying of this race. This great race that happens once a year.
Yeah, very special, Lamont, and it's great to have people from Studio 397 joining us in the broadcast for sure to see just how well their simulator is going to be hosting this race for certain. Thanks very much for joining us, Llewellyn Johnson, of course. Pleasure to have you with us, and, well,
thank you.
Good luck to you for the race, no matter what your role will be.
Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I mean, you and everybody else make it easy for me.
Don't doubt what you guys do. It's very, very good. Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. See you guys.
I mean, it's always nice, isn't it, Neil, when the quality of the field around us makes it so easy to commentate on things.
Eddie, then it just happens.
Sorry, that was really awful of me, but I've just been poked by Dennis Lind, who wants a shout out because he's a real driver in real life.
Oh,
so
yes, of course.
Before I go, just make sure everyone knows that he wanted me to do that. Bye. Hi, Dennis.
Oh, Ed. Well, yeah, well, we'll give him that. We'll give him that, Dennis Lind. Hi, Dennis. I know Dennis. I've commentated on Dennis before. I've raced. I don't think I've raced with Dennis before, but I know he's a real-life racer. So, yeah, Dennis Lind is a good person. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about how good the field is, Neil.
Indeed, when you've got an absolutely extraordinary caliber of drivers we have here in the VEC, it makes it very, very easy to commentate on because there's almost always clean action. Some point on the track at every point during the race.
Yeah, it's just the quality of the field, again, has just proven itself this year. We saw it in Season 8, we've seen it in Season 9. I'm sure Season 10 will be even better still. We keep saying, how can we build on this? And yet the next season just goes and blows it out the water. I mean, I've been here for Season 8 and Season 9, and I'm so optimistic about Season 10. I think it's going to be fantastic, but obviously, the 9's where it's at now. We're ending it with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and Yuri Kasdorp looks set at the moment to end it on, well, what may be pole position. We don't know yet because qualifying 2 is happening tomorrow, but at least may look to end it with bragging rights coming out of the first session.
Ian, you say about qualifying 2 tomorrow. Something else that needs to be brought into play is that for the fastest lap for each car, it's going to be reviewed, and if it's found that you go out with limits, you're going to have 1 second added to your time. So you've got to make sure that that fast lap is also an extremely clean one.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the system we had last season, where we'd have the qualifying on a separate day, all the laps would be reviewed, and then penalties would be applied, and that would dictate who got into room 1 and who got into room 2, I believe. But yeah, that was how it was done last season. This season it's worked slightly differently, but you know, we're going back to a similar sort of system for the Le Mans because it's just slightly longer, and if you know, that touch of realism. And Craig Wallard, it makes us some good viewing.
Yeah, definitely. I like the idea that laps get reviewed as well. Obviously, we didn't get that opportunity in VOMS because qualifying happened and then the race happened almost immediately afterwards. So, but I think if the opportunity is there to review laps and make sure that they're all perfectly valid, then go for it. Obviously, there's a few places where it is absolutely easy to go beyond track limits. I'm thinking Tetra Rouge, I'm thinking the 2 Ford chicanes as well, but they're also some of the most
exit of the Porsche curves as well. That final.
Oh yes, of course. But they're such critical points on the track as well. So you've got to absolutely be inch perfect with those if you're going to get a perfect lap, which is still valid.
Yeah, you really do have to be inch perfect, you know, got to be careful, got to be concise, got to be really, you know, precise if you're not going to use as much of the track possible without actually exceeding track limits. And, you know, it's interesting to see how teams and drivers are doing that. And, well, you know, if you cut on a lap, you've got to basically go quicker, otherwise you're going to get that 1 second penalty. But really, it's been about teams trying to negotiate traffic as well. I'm watching Nico Barkley, he comes down the Ford chicanes, going to try and set a lap, but he's getting held up by a GT car, so that's not going to help him. Nothing he can do about that. Just going to get out of the way as soon as he can and get on with the next lap. That's the problem. He can be doing so well for most of the lap, but if you get held behind for 1 second, you're going to be held up. Got to be so careful. Got to watch how you go and, you know, consider every single potential opportunity. If you're coming up to a GT too fast, you might be best advised to maybe do something about that.
Indeed, just having a look at Tomoyo Yala just goes up into 5th place, coming up from 6th. But indeed, I do believe that is the top, just having a look through the top 7 in LMP1, indeed the top 7 overall are just covered by a second at the moment, so extraordinarily close in the LMP1 field.
You say that, but Kasdorp has just
got even faster.
Quicker.
Yuri Kasdorp, spoil the party, will you? Goes faster, breaks into the 320s. He's on a 327.79. That was a wonderful, wonderful lap from Kasdorp there.
It's just what we were saying before, you know, you need to get that extraordinarily beautiful lap, and it seems like Kasdorp in that 21 Vela Sim Sports car managed to get it. Yeah,
he really just has managed to snatch the pole position at the moment, at least. I'm wondering how these guys do it, so maybe now is as good a time as any to take an onboard lap, if we can, with one of our... Well, apparently maybe it's not. Okay, fair enough. Maybe it's not time to do an onboard lap. I was hoping we could, but we can't yet, sorry, because still having a couple of technical difficulties, I believe, with the cameras. So we're not going to do that. We'll come back to it later, perhaps. But, you know, we will get an onboard lap with somebody at some point to show off this fantastic circuit. Of course, unique to simracing.club. Apparently, Jimmy Allison says he's going to have to restart some things, so we may lose some viewing sort of images, but we will stay broadcasting. We'll keep you updated on the standings and qualifying. I'm just watching still the I'm watching actually the sister car to Stephen Bailey, Nikitin Wisniewski's number 2 DHR. We are still live, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Keeping this going is Wisniewski. If anyone is going to usurp pole from Kasdorp, I reckon it'd be him. I think genuinely speaking, Wisniewski just has it in him at the moment to potentially set a pole lap. He's coming into the 4 chicanes now, so we will see if he can go pole in this point of the session. Round the final 2 turns he comes now, clips 1, clips the second, exits the turn, and I'm hoping this is going to be a good lap from Wisniewski here.
And he does.
It's pole! By 0.041 of a second for Nikodem Wisniewski. He has gone pole as I thought he might, and that is a statement made to Vela SimSport.
Definitely. We've got the situation now where the 2 Audis, I think they are, they're now 6.5 tenths quicker than the 2 Porsches. And then you've got a Nissan nearly a second behind at this stage. Obviously, it's still very early into the session, but that's quite telling possibly at this stage. We'll see as it progresses, though. Maybe the track rubbering in will suit some cars better than others, and maybe some teams are still hanging quite a fair bit behind. But that's definitely looking good for the Audis at the moment.
I do believe Nico Barkley, speaking of Audis, has just gone up to 5th in the Monaco car, so good to see him moving up the order there. But yes, what a lap from Wisniewski to take pole position straight back out of the hands of Yuri Kasdorp. And Kasdorp in that Velas car is now going to be thinking, what do I have to do to get pole position? Because no matter what I do, people just seem to be going quicker. That's the problem that he faces, and while James Johnson behind, 0.669 seconds behind, top 6 still within a second here at Le Mans. That is how close it is. Tommy Oyala currently in 6th place, of course, 0.992 seconds down in the Magenta Nissan GTR LM Nismo. And the Nismo is actually very close together. Joe Ciampa only about a 10th down in that GNS car.
You're saying top 6 within a second. That is true for LMP1, but it's also true for LMP2 at the moment. Those the top 6 in class, currently headed by Nicholas Probadnik. The top 6 in that class are only covered by a second.
Yeah, covered by a second in the classes left and right. And you know, another thing I want to just point out again is just how diverse the field is, you know, not in terms of just marks that we have Audi, Porsche, Nissan, Aston Martins, we have the like, but in terms of driver nationalities as well, because we look at Nikodem Wisniewski, the Polish driver, then behind him we got Kasdorp, who's, I believe Kasdorp is Dutch. I think we made that mistake a lot in Season 8, but Kasdorp, the Dutchman, in P2 there in the Velas car. In fact, you'll see on the side of the Velas car, the Dutch flag flying. Then we have James Johnson, the Englishman, then Nicky Jakovic, the Bosnian, Nico Barkley, the Peruvian, and then Tommy Oyala from Finland. So, you know, nationalities everywhere you look.
Indeed, a truly international championship, because we have Rhys Gardner in the Magenta Warriors car from New Zealand, all the way across to certainly Nico Barkley, and the Wanaka car I do believe is Peruvian, if I remember correctly. So indeed, completely across the world, this championship.
I tell you what, I didn't know Rhys Gardner was a New Zealander. I didn't know that he is actually from Australia, but yeah,
close enough. Same country.
Yeah, Neil Jogger for Heatley showing his skills there, but yes, that Magenta car in its own right, very internationally. Got Ekstrana from Sweden, Tommy Oyana, the Flying Finn, Rhys Gardner, the Aussie, Van der Woude, the Dutchman, and Kasper Kolodziejczyk, who I've quite humorously referred to as the Polish Irishman several times, but races under the Irish flag here in the Virtual Endurance Championship. So a lot of diversity going on in that one car, never mind the whole field. And well, it is so nice to see that sim racing can bring so many people together. I mean, look what's done with me, Neil. It's got a Scotsman and a Geordie getting on. Imagine what it could do for the rest of the world. We just need to all go sim racing. That's what we need to do.
Indeed, and I'm just having a look at Nicholas Probadnik in the 46 Seawolf NetRace Motorsport car. Have a little bit of a spin coming out of the Dunlop chicane. Just having a look back, going through the left and the right of the chicane. Looks like he just gets on the inside AstroTurf a little bit too much, and just loops it slightly.
Yeah, just slightly there, and of course, you know, one mistake around here, even though it's such a long circuit, even though mistakes are kind of more tolerable around Le Mans, one mistake, only this field can throw it off completely.
Indeed, and if you do make a mistake, it's such a long lap to get your time back. It's 3 minutes 20-ish for the LMP1 cars, about 335 for the LMP2s, 355 for the GT cars. And that's if you're having an absolutely blistering lap. It's just that if you do make that small mistake, that's so much time wasted.
Yeah, you know, every single mistake can cost you a tenth, and a tenth in such a strong field can cost you a place, 2 places. You know, it's absolutely crucial that you know, keep absolutely on it. And, well, yeah, you know, all of the teams proving that to, you know, several degrees here today. You know, we've got the likes of Joe Chamber and Tommy Oyala. You know, these guys are only the 2nd down around Le Mans and the 7th and 8th in their class. That's how much it can cost you. It's crucial that you get the perfect lap that you can get, as good, close to perfect as you can get, really, for each individual, you know, driver and team. And it's not just P1 where it counts. You know, we've got Nicholas Papadnik currently in the leading in the Seawolf Net Race 46 car there in the LMP2 class. And then just, I mean, it's a wilder Michael Barnard, but from Barnard it's 3/10 out to Enzo Farsi. And then just 200ths of a second separate him and Stefan Holtzkamp. So it can cost you a position the tiniest amount of time.
Indeed, and as you said before, that tiny amount of time can cost you several positions on the grid.
Yeah, it can do. And we're talking about drivers who have been brought in as Le Mans specials before in the LMP2 field. I've just noticed a bit of a blast from the past. If you watch Season 8, you'll remember a certain Anthony Jans for Team Spirit Racing in LMP2. Never ceased to amaze us with his talent. He's back in Le Mans for undercover sim racing in the number 50. Anthony Jans, of course, really one of the Prototype 2 experts from last season. Of course, that was the time before Neil commentated on him, but I tell you this, Neil, from my own personal experience, he is not someone you want to underestimate. He is absolutely brilliant in these Proto 2s, and I think Undercover have made a brilliant signing with him, so it's going to be great to see how Jans does.
Indeed, the number 50 car is currently, that's what, 6th in class at the moment. If we want to get a little bit better position for the undercover sim racing car, is currently 2/10 behind Diego Carranza in the 32 Atlantic Motorsports car, which is easy to make up for in Le Mans.
Yeah, I mean, Jans is in a good place at the moment, being where he is. He's not quite as high up as I think he would like, because obviously in his Team Spirit days, you know, winning pretty much every race there was to win in LMP2. But yeah, you know, Jans really one of the more talented, I think, LMP2 drivers in the field for VEC. You know, the 24 hours of Le Mans, there is a lot of talent going around, but Jans definitely not one you want to underestimate, and he's proven that through last season. I'm sure he'll prove it at Le Mans. Thomas Luthi, again, another seemingly very promising driver in that Fanatic Drake car, one of the VLMS promotions, of course. In GT, we still have Velas in P1, but SRVN have gone up to 2nd, and, well, I've just seen that Jimmy Allison is saying we should probably do an onboard lap now. I think we should do an onboard lap now. Let's go for an onboard viewpoint, but which one do we go for? That's the question. I'm looking, though. Oh, apparently we're not doing that. Oh. I don't know what we're doing anymore. Oh, right. Apparently, yes, because it's manual cycling, of course, so, right. Oof. What to do? What to do? Right, okay, I know what I'm doing now. I know what I'm doing. I think we should do an onboard lap, but we should do one. We should do, or at least have a look at Michael Barnard in 12th place. Is that, I hope that's alright if we can look at Michael Barnard. Of course, 2nd in class at the moment in LMP2. Who's coming around into the Ford chicanes. And he's actually just starting a lap. I'm not very good at this, am I? I don't see... Oh, well, we are on Barnard, apparently. That's good news. So Michael Barnard going himself round the track now. Coming into the first turn. So tricky to get right because it's just after a corner. He's coming into the turn now. And, well, Barnard going around here. Into the S's now before Tetra Rouge. Such difficult to get right again, as we said, because the S's, you know, curved corners, as all corners are curved, but camber on them can throw you off sometimes if you're not careful. Then Tetra Rouge, of course, braking zone for that, leads you onto the big long Mulsanne straight, very long straight to deal with. And, well, you'll be hitting some serious speeds coming down here. I mean, even in an LMP2, and Michael Barnard is doing 305, 306, 310 kilometers an hour and increasing speeds as he gets to the end of the first section. When he hits the brakes coming into the first chicane, doing 320 kilometers an hour. That is a lot of speed, about 175 miles an hour, even in a prototype 2. That is a lot of speed before the next run down into the second chicane. As the speed comes up again into 5th gear, then 6th gear afterwards. He's being lapped or overtaken by an LMP1 there. That, I believe, is the same HQ car. But Barnard is not going to let that phase him. He is going to continue regardless and keep going on with what he's doing into the second chicane here. Clips that nicely, gets that done nicely also, then onto the run down further, and this is where he comes into a section of the track where the Mulsanne corner, we have the Mulsanne straight and we have the Mulsanne corner. That's why it's called what it is. And Mulsanne, again, it comes after a curved braking zone. There's a lot of those at Le Mans, but Barnard, as soon as he hits the curb or comes close to it, hits the brakes, gets the speed down. He's going to need a good exit here to get past the no limit number 88 GT, but they're moving to the right. That is good of them. And Barnard now is going to come down into Indianapolis and Arnage. Again, you have a lot of big runs in this corner, a lot of long sections to get your speed up. It's only really the first and last portions of the track which have a lot of corners. And it really is what makes Le Mans so different compared to other tracks. Barnard brakes as soon as he reaches the turn, then into the banked Indianapolis. Got a bit of an inside camber, so you can use that to corner slightly quicker. Then into the 90-degree right-hander that is Arnage. The Caspian Motorsport car ahead goes straight on, so Barnard can continue his lap, getting out of the way nicely. And then the nightmare for any driver, the Porsche curves, one of the trickiest sections on the track. This really, really difficult to get right, and well, let's see if Michael Barnard can get it right. I'm sure he will, but he's determined. Throws it in, gets understeer. Oh, he's just kept it from going too wide there is Barnard. Then the left-hander, then the right-hander. It's so tricky. Oversteer and understeer can be induced if you get it wrong, but Barnard has not got it wrong. He's got it very right. And into the 4 chicanes, the final 4 turns of this track now, he comes into. First, he will go left, then he will go right, then he will go left, then right again. And Barnard will complete a lap of Le Mans on board, but will he improve on his current time? He's on a 3:36.872, and as he crosses the line, he does not improve. Still an impressive lap on board with Barnard there.
He, if anything, he was helped a little bit by the traffic there, because when the P1 passed me, he was able to get a little bit of a slipstream. Oh, he's just gone and hit the wall there.
Oh, he has.
He got a little bit of slipstream off the P1 that passed him, and then he got a little bit of a slipstream off the GT, and he was passing them in all the right places, and then the Caspian got out of the way for him. But it was a little bit scruffy in places as well. He didn't get the entry into the Porsche curves right, and he took far too much curb into the Ford chicane, which really made the car wobble a lot, which definitely cost him some momentum. So he went a little bit slower that time than his personal best, but hey, he's got another hour and 7 minutes to improve on that, so.
Yeah, he still has time to improve, and that's the important thing here. You know, he can still make an improvement, no matter what the improvement is. Improvements can be made, and, well, I believe that we have had a driver change in the number 21 car. Christian Michel is in that now. And, of course, driver change is allowed in this qualifying session. The only means of changing a driver allowed. You're not allowed to leave and rejoin with different drivers. Only do driver swaps. So Michel in that car now. And Christian Michel, back in the, I believe back in Season 8, was part of the then Championship defending TXL outfit, but then moved to Vela Sim Sport when they were Revolution Racing, and he stayed on since. Michel, though, as a former defending champion, cannot be underestimated. Definitely a top-flight driver. Knows his stuff for sure. And that Velas car in general has been super competitive this season. One of the front runners for the LMP1 Championship.
Indeed, and having looked back down at LMP2, Jans has now gone a provisional pole in LMP2 by a massive margin. That number 50 car, 8/10, almost 9/10 of a second. But you counteract that with the provisional pole sitter in GT at the moment. You know, Pinto in the 84 car, only 0.004 of a second ahead of Yunus Ravio.
Yeah, only a little bit ahead, and he is really not, well, as comfortably as he'd like, Nuno Pinto. But yeah, in that dark racing car, Pinto doing a good job in qualifying at the moment. Of course, you know him probably slightly better, Neil, with his exploits with Ramada Motorsport in the Virtual Le Mans Series, who I believe won the GT Championship there. But Pinto in his own right, very capable in that dark racing Corvette.
He's been absolutely fantastic driving Nuno Pinto, and extremely fast driving again, as I was saying before, metronomical. Is just an extremely good sim racing driver, Nuno Pinto.
Definitely knows how to handle a GT car. He's proven that throughout the VLMS season and proving it now in the Virtual Endurance Championship. You've seen Joe Chapman actually got him to fourth, so
he's gone to fourth in the Porsche. Not the Porsche, the Nissan. Jakovic has gone third in the Porsche, and that was for a little while just 3/10 separating the three manufacturers. However, Wisniewski has gone half a second quicker.
Oh, he has.
Which is a huge margin. So that's a massive statement from the Audi driver.
Statement made by Nikitin Wisniewski there. He's just saying, I can go faster than you can go faster, but I'll just go faster again. And it begs the question, 319s have got to be a thing. Will we see 318s? Is it mathematically possible?
I don't see why not.
If memory serves me correctly, I do believe that the FIA tried to limit LMP1s to 3 minutes 20 around Le Mans, so they're starting to get to that almost sort of like real life time now.
Yeah, I mean, really is starting to match the times you'd expected at Le Mans. I reckon we will see some 319s, 318s perhaps pushing it a little bit too far, unless it's a very, very high one, because even from when you're pushing your hardest, it's so difficult to find another second, even on a 3-minute circuit. But yeah, 319... I suspect we'll see some 319s soon.
It is certainly not far away, and it seems that DHR driver Wisniewski has that in the bag. It seems like he has that in his deep, deep bag of talent to just go that extra quarter second quicker.
Yep, really is got so much talent, him and the rest of the field. So going to be interesting to see whether we do see some 319s. We've actually got Podmas Machinist in the chat saying, nice tower we have there. Yeah, no, you made it, Coin. Of course, you know, thank you very much for that to Podmas Machinist for making our lovely standings tower and graphics for the plugin that we're using. Of course, very unique in that it's a DirectX 11 compatible plugin. So, you know, massive thanks to people who have worked on that, Podmas Machinist, for doing the graphics, as well as graphics-wise on the track we've got. Big thanks to Stephen Bailey and Bryce Lowe for doing our advertisement boards and our graphics that we use on the stream as well. Big thanks to them for doing that, and well, going to be very interesting to see how it looks come the race and when we see it at night and in the qualifying session tomorrow. Of course, as the session darks and dims, you'll notice on our cars that the numbers start to light up on the side of them. Of course, we use special alpha layers to get glow-in-the-dark number plates as well, which, you know, at night really makes the car stand out even more, Neil.
It just makes it up. Let me start that sentence again. It does make them absolutely shine at night, but also some of the problem at night for these drivers is, especially if you're coming up on say a GT car, if you're one of the LMP1 or LMP2 cars, it can be very disconcerting. You don't exactly know where the GT cars are. You just see a pair of tail lights, and it's very difficult to judge the depth.
It can be, yeah, at night, difficult driving, so it's going to be interesting to see the night stints of this race and the night qualifying session. But yeah, it's, you know, for someone who perhaps, you know, for some drivers, there'll be drivers here in a 24-hour race who might, if we have some single nationality teams, they will have drivers getting up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning in our time, Craig, to do stints. And, well, it must be so difficult for single nationality teams to do that.
Absolutely. Obviously, there will be some night owls within a team, I'm sure, but it's never going to be simple. driving at night is a thing, definitely an experience. Especially if you're unfamiliar. I'm sure these guys will all do their practice during the night sessions. But physically waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and going racing is not something that particularly appeals to me, to be honest. I very much am always asleep at 3 o'clock these days. Maybe not so way back in my my heyday of uni, but I think the less said about that, the better. I'm looking through the GT times at the moment, and the gap between the Dark Racing number 84 car and the Velisim Sport number 89 car is literally thousandths for pole.
Oh yes, it is. It is such a close run battle, this, between the two of them. I mean, I'm just looking at that myself, just seeing. I'm just looking at Rivio versus Pinto. There's literally 4 thousandths in it at the moment in GT. That is sensational. With exactly an hour gone in this session, I think it's time that we give everyone a full update on the standings. Not like you can't see them from our lovely standings tower, of course, but I believe it's time we go through the entire field and tell you exactly who is where. So I'll kick us off with the prototype ones, and it is Nikitin Wisniewski in the number 2 Doug Henson racing car going out, but he's on pole at the moment on a 3 minutes 20.240, and he's a whole second ahead of Christian Michel in the number 21 Velisim Sport Audi R18. Then it is Niki Jakovic in the Team Virus number 4 Porsche 919, a 320.895 in the first Porsche. And then it's Joe Champa, the first on the Nissan Nismos. GTRLM number 22 for GNS is 4th. James Johnson is in 5th place in the number 14 LMP1 Vodbull Racing Porsche 919. Then it's Tommy Oyala in 6th place in the number 24 Magenta Warriors LMP1 Nismo, again, so the second of the 2 Nissans there. Pedro Gomez in the number 19 CHQ car is in 7th, and it's Nico Barkley in the number 7 Monaco ECR Audi R18 in 8th place. And Stephen Bailey returning to the Virtual Endurance Championship in the number 3 Doug Henson Racing Audi R18 in 9th place. Then it's the number 5 Luca Radiali in the Scuderia GT Italia LMP1. Number 5 Audi R18 is in P10, and it is all prototype 2s and GTs from here, so I'm going to hand you over to Neil Heatley to take you through the prototype 2s.
Indeed, provisional pole in the prototype 2s at the moment is Anthony Janssen at number 50, undercover sim racing car, a 335.223, an average speed of 233 kilometers an hour, which is absolutely bonkers when you really think about it. In second is Nicholas Perbadnik in the Seawolf Net race car with the 36.103, almost a full second behind. Following him is Michael Bernard in the Flatline racing car. He's currently third with a 36.872. Fourth is Enzo Fazzi in the Velisim Sport car with a 37.202. Fifth is Stefan Holzkamp in the Magenta Warriors racing car, their LMP2 effort, 38.224, a full second behind Fazzi. Holzkamp needs to step up the game there if he wants to try and gain any positions. In 6th place are the championship leaders, Atlantic Motorsport with Diego Carranza at the wheel, 38.477. Diego would want to be having a far faster lap in that Atlantic car. In 7th place is Federico Sov in the Scuderia GT Italia car, a 39.332. And 8th is Sebastian Rodriguez in the MVD Racing Team with a 40.012. And rounding out the LMP2 field at the moment, in 9th place is Thomas Lute in the Fantech Drake Racing car, our VLMS call-up. But we saw in the P1s, there's 1.6 seconds covering the top 9 there, really. I don't think Scuderia GT Italia car has a representative lap time, but there seems to be a massive spread to the P2 cars, almost 4.5 seconds.
Yeah, big gap between the P2s. Hopefully that'll close up the session goes. We still have GTs to cover, and I think for that, we're going to give the job to our brand new commentator for this race, Craig Woolard.
I like how you've left the field which covers half the entries to me.
Well, you know, you've got to get your experience in.
I suppose. Right, on provisional pole position at the moment is the number 84 Dark Racing, piloted by Nuno Pinto, who has gone marginally quicker with a 3 minutes 56.4. Behind him is the number 89 Velisim Sport, driven by Eunice Rivio. less than a tenth behind that. Number 66 is in third place, headed by, well, driven by Bram Beelan. A few tenths behind that. Oh, we have a change in position now. The Velis has gone top. In fourth place is the number 94 Velis, driven by Daniel Almeida with a 357.0. In fifth place is the 169 Witchwood, the top VOMS entry, with Cagnoli behind the wheel, 57.1. In sixth place is the Caspian with Demir Khan, a few tenths behind there. In seventh place is the Scuderia GT Italia, number 91, driven by Alessandro Puoti with 3 minutes 57.4, ahead of the number 75 PRL Logitech Racing, driven by Dennis Hadlack. In ninth place is the number 53 Flat 9 Racing, driven by Lewis Redshaw. He's the first driver in the 3 minutes 58s, and he's ahead of this the other VOMS entry, the RSA Pattaya, driven by Lance Grassino, a few hundredths behind. In 11th place is the Texas Squadra Corsa number 68 car, driven by Paolo Marinano. That's a complicated name. I won't pronounce that one. Oh, we have a change of position. Bert, in the free wide motorsport, has just gone 9th. So that puts the Texas Squadra Corsa number 68 down into 12th. In 13th is the number 54 Atlantic Motorsport, with Nikolai behind the wheel with 3 minutes 58.6. In 14th is the No Limit Motorsport number 88 with Maybach behind the wheel. In 15th is the Talking Door Racing number 71 with Rona heading that one. The Atlantic Motorsport number 72 is in 16th place with Vindus. In 17th is the Rare Endurance number 76 with 3 minutes 59. And now we have a few cars quite a way off the pace. We have the Sim Racing for Holland number 52, 4 minutes 02.1. In 19th we have the Sim HQ Motorsports Mitchell Smith, 4 minutes 02.6. And the number 64 Satellite Racing, 4 minutes and 7 seconds, more than 10 seconds off pole.
Yeah, so some of the GT cars quite far down the order there, and hopefully they'll make their way, get themselves a little bit of time. But Le Mans is a struggle sometimes, and while proving it, you know, some of these cars being slightly further off the time, can't quite make up as much time as they'd like. Neil, I am surprised, man, to see Marcel Offermans of all people quite far behind in that Sim Racing for Holland car. Of course, big head honcho at Studio 397, you'd imagine it's his simulator, he'd be pretty good at it. But yeah, Le Mans, it is such a difficult track, I don't blame him.
You just have a look at Tommy Oyala in the Magenta Warriors car, has gone quicker. He's now with a 2044. As I say that, Joe Champa's just gone into second with a 20.25 knot, just 100th of a second behind Wisniewski.
If that is not a statement of intent from GNS Endurance, I don't know what is. They are not backing down by any means. They're totally here. They're totally ready. And we have totally got a guest. It's Enzo Fazzi.
Hello.
Great to have you with us, Enzo. And, well, of course, you driving for Vela Simsport in the LMP2 car earlier this session. Henry Ahonen now in that car in the number 33. And, well, as it stands, you are, I believe, 4th in that session because, yep, you are the 4th of the LMP2s. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not good, but it's okay.
I was going to say, knowing you won't be on pole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's a long race, so quality doesn't really matter. So yeah, I just try to set up things, improve a bit of time. But it's really difficult with all the traffic to get a good lap. Because first of all you have to get a good lap, and then you have to get lucky to not run into any GT cars or LMP1 cars on that same lap.
Yeah, it is. You have to get a good run. And speaking of teams that have got a good run, it's now a Nissan 2-3. Eric Strana in that Magenta Warriors car has gotten 3rd in the standings. So 2 and 3 for the Nismos now. I think they've stopped sandbagging. In fact, Champa, look at where he is. He's a 100th of a second down on Wisniewski. That's how close he is, as we said. Stamen made, and Strana not far behind either. I think they've finally stopped sandbagging, Neil.
Indeed, these Nissans are starting perhaps they weren't really helped by the very green track at the beginning, because we know they rely on that front end grip so much, but perhaps now the track started to become rubbered in by these 39 cars circulating for the last hour and 10 minutes. Perhaps that's starting to come towards the Nissans.
Yeah, starting to come towards them. Of course, Enzo Fozzi is an LMP2 driver. You don't have to worry about performance differences because LMP2 is spec series, and well, obviously, you know, that brings its own challenges, doesn't it, at a track like Le Mans? Because a lot more of it comes down to driver skill
and setup.
And setup.
Yeah, especially with the long straights. I haven't looked at the other teams in terms of top speed, but I'm actually pretty curious to know what the difference is.
Is it perhaps frustrating not being able to have a car that is slightly better on the straights or slightly better in the corners where you can actually use certain parts of the track to your advantage and just having to take opportunities as they come? Or do you prefer it that way?
Well, last year I drove the Viper, which was horribly slow down the straight, and our main competitor was driving a Ferrari, which was the quickest car down the straight. And we at Spa, for example, we could match their lap times, but like we had to actually push for it in sector 2 of Spa, while they just got the seconds free down the straight by holding down their right foot to the floor. So it's, yeah, I'd rather have a car that's really good on top speed, because for an endurance race it's just time you get easier, time you get without pushing.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, you know, the likes of the prototypes today in the Real Life World Endurance Championship, very acceleration focused rather than outright top speed. And, you know, if you'd like top speed on if you'd like top speed in the prototype, that might not work for you. But still, it's an interesting thing that we have a spec series, because, you know, we've got classes, we have LMP1 and LMGT where there's different marks and different thingies. So having a spec series, you know, LMGT, you can argue, really the purest racing of the lot.
I'd say so, yes, yeah, and on track it's probably the most difficult as well. During the opening laps, when you have to pass the GT field, and then at the same time you get the leaders of the LMP1 cars trying to lap you as well, which can be really stressful.
Do you think maybe with you driving in this LMP2 and really showcasing your talents, you could be on for a drive with Velis in LMP1 in Season 10?
We're looking into it, yeah. Let's see, we're looking now what the guys in our because we have a pretty big team, so we've got a spreadsheet now where everybody's like, we're sort of seeing what everybody wants for next year, and then we'll get the cars together.
Yeah, of course, because, you know, even though this is the 24 Hours of Le Mans, we've got to focus on this. You know, you're looking forward to Season 10 as a big established team like Velis TeamSpeak. You know, you're planning for the future, so, you know, I won't delve too far into your team's plans, but how is it looking for you for Season 10? Is the outlook positive?
Oh, I have no idea yet. Like, we're all just putting down our wishes for next year, and then after Le Mans we'll see what actually is going to happen.
Yeah, you know, you can't look too far into the future, even though you do look into the future. Any questions from you, Neil?
So what is sort of like your plan for the race? Is it just sort of like survive till the end?
Well, that's what we tried every race this season, and stuff just didn't end up the way we wanted it to. First of all, we'd like to finish. Like, we've had so much bad luck this year that we, like, realistically we can't get the championship anymore. So we just like to finish them all and hopefully in a good position. So we can draw up a plan, but we'll drive just the fastest we can and see where we end up after 24 hours.
Yeah, I guess that is a solid plan, although I do have one more question for you, or a couple of more questions for you, Enzo Fozzi, because you are one of the instrumental figures behind our SimRacing.Club Academy, so I thought it only fair we ask a couple of questions about that, really. How's life been for you administrating it? Because it really is, you know, one of the proving grounds for future drivers, the Academy, and it's a new initiative we brought in this year, so being part of that, how is it for you?
It's pretty busy. It's a race. A race nearly every week, which is obviously more than VEC has, and then we check nearly the whole race for how drivers behave. So it's quite a big workload to check everything, but we make sure we get only the good drivers in VEC, only drivers who can behave and finish actual endurance races, because that's what SRC is proud of, our endurance races.
Is that why Neil failed then?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, I mean, It is a lovely initiative we got, you know, it really does bring drivers up. We've seen it firsthand. We've seen drivers being brought up to VC and VLMS, you know, so it shows it's working.
Oh, we actually got Henry, who's in our car and my car now. He graduated from VC from the SRCA in the previous season or the season before. In second place, he finished, I think, overall. And we've got 3 other drivers in Valles now who all passed through SRCA. It's looking pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, the outlook definitely positive. So, Enzo Farsi, let's assume for 1 minute that let's assume this is VEC and it's been so good that I managed to get one of my friends very interested in joining in with the endurance racing. Here we have it, SRC. What would that person need to do to get involved?
Well, first he needs to make an account on the forums. Then, secondly, he can sign up to the next SSCA season, which is nearly every month, so they're quite often. Then you'll need to do 2 out of the 3 races we have per season, and if he behaves well, races well, doesn't cause any dumb incidents or whatever, then he'll get license 4. License 4 gives access to racing in SSCA for another season, and VEC and VLMS teams can invite you to drive for their team, and then of course you're driving for a team in VEC or VLMS.
Yeah, of course, you know, it is so simple to get involved. Get yourself signed up, get yourself in the academy, and you can find yourself in the Virtual Endurance Championship Virtual Le Mans Series. But it's important to remember, isn't it, Enzo? Even if drivers who go through the academy and get licenses don't find themselves a seat, they are welcome to come back and do the academy again, you know. So it's not necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah. Well, if you graduated from the academy and you're not invited to drive a team, you're welcome to stay and race with us in SSCA for a longer time. One of our badass teammates, Tero, has been racing in nearly every season of SSCA because it's just really good, sort of club races style, because they're every week. They're fun combos. They're good cars with the GT3 Camaro. So yeah, it's a good format we have running, I'd say.
Yeah, it is. You should totally get yourself involved if you're even so much as slightly interested in endurance racing. Get yourself signed up on our forums and maybe consider taking part in the SLC Academy, of course, over at our website, simracing.club, and on our forums. And, well, maybe you'll be racing in this field one day. Maybe you'll get picked and get your license and you find yourself racing against the likes of Enzo Farsi. Who knows? Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Enzo. Pleasure to have you with us, and, well, good luck for you and Velas for the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow, I guess.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will see us tomorrow. And, yeah, well, in the meantime, in the middle of all this, I've just noticed that Anthony Jans has taken LMP2 pole position. And by some time as well.
A 34.9. An absolutely blistering time from the undercover racing driver there. Absolutely extraordinary to get into the 34s in these P2 cars.
Yeah, he is absolutely brilliant on pace. As we said, Anthony Jans, brilliantly quick. So quick is that Anthony Jans. You know, we saw him last season, we're seeing him this season, really showing just how good he is. I'm just watching Eric Strana in the Magenta Warriors car come around start finish, just see what he can do here in this lap. I'm wondering to see what Strana is going to do. He's not going to improve, but he's going to get close to improving. And it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on, because Strana, so quick, so talented. I do believe he's not going to be doing the race, but yeah.
Indeed, Nicholas Wisniewski has managed to keep that car on pole at the moment. The number 2 DHR car, a fantastic super sub there for the DHR team.
I've been watching his lap times though. Well, I've been watching his lap zone. He's had quite a few scruffy ones, or ones where he's had trouble. Hit a bit of debris a couple of minutes ago, and I think he lost it at Tetra Rouge just now as well. So he's not getting any representative laps in at the moment. Oh, it's gone off again. So he seems to be really pushing hard at the moment. So
You see that Djakovic in the number 4 virus car goes up into 3rd.
oh, wow.
Yep. There goes Djakovic. He's thrown himself into the mix once again, the Bosnian. He's gone into 3rd. Just a 10th down on Wisniewski. So things really beginning to heat up in the final portion of this session.
It's just extraordinarily close between all these cars, isn't it? Especially all these P1s.
Yep, really doing quite well at the moment is Djakovic, and a lot of the P1s as well, really putting their foot down. At the end of the session, of course, the track's going to rubber in. There's going to be more grip available. I am surprised to see Stephen Bailey in 7th, but you know, such a competitive field, even someone like Bailey could struggle. I mean, he's probably got about, another second in him, I believe, but I reckon he can be up there with the likes of Wisniewski and Ciampa definitely in this session, so we'll keep an eye on that number 3 DHR car.
You see that? The top 5 in P1s are covered by just over a quarter of a second. Unbelievably close.
That's so close. It shows that the balance of performance between the Audi, the Porsche and the Nissan over 1 lap at least anyway is pretty much right on the money. What I'm surprised to see is such a vast range of times in, say, for example, LMP2, which is just a complete spec category, compared to LMP1 and to a degree the GT. Well, okay, the GT is 7/10 between the top 2 at the moment, but earlier in the session it was so close there as well.
Yeah, it is so close, and well, really is just, a testament again, as we said, Neil, to how good the field is.
Indeed, it just shows the absolute caliber of the drivers. Someone's just gone off big time at Indianapolis. It just shows the caliber of all these. I do believe it's actually Jason Jones in the 31 car, but it just shows the caliber of all these drivers.
Yeah, it just goes to show. I mean, VEC these days, really just is absolutely so good. It's come on a long way from its humble origins about 9 years ago, but yeah, it's always nice to see such a high quality field when I commentate, and you don't really get much better than VEC from my experience. Not once, have I ever, come out and thought, oh, the driving wasn't fantastic. I've always been so impressed with the quality of the field as a whole. That is, it's such a nice thing to be able to say that, VEC is, it's no wonder that, we're as popular as we are when you got the quality of the field, but proving it just by the fact that Joe Ciampa is so close to Nick and Wisniewski in the qualifying, 100th of a second in it. In fact, fun tidbit from Jimmy Allison, I believe it's actually 9 years ago today that in its origin form, the VEC had its first ever race. There you go.
Look how far it's gone in 9 years.
Look how far we've come in 9 years. Now, look where we are now. I mean, of course, this wouldn't be possible without Jimmy Allison, our big head honcho of the VEC, so big props to Jimmy for running this series. Wouldn't be able to be here without him. And, well, Joe Ciampa is actually pushing that Nissan so hard it's smoking. Look at him.
Oh, wow.
Probably running as little radiator as possible for maximum straight line speed in the Nissan. In fact, I'm looking at him, he's doing 345 kilometers an hour, reaching 350 into the first chicane. That's how quick the Nissan is.
I'm fairly sure that the Nissan is the quickest in a straight line anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Of the 3 cars.
We've been seeing this season so quick in a straight line. I'm watching Nick and Wisniewski and he's doing 335, 336, 337. He's touching 340 as well, but the Nissan well into the 340s. That's the thing, Wisniewski might just be within the 340s, but Joe Ciampa's doing 340 well before. That's the thing, he's got at least 5 kilometers an hour and his slipstream, he'd be even quicker.
To run a little bit wide
you've got to remember that Nissan was all its time again through the first sector and through the Porsche curves as well.
Yeah, that's something that is crucial to remember as well in all this. And, well, we're talking about close qualifying. Jonas Raiveo, again, so close to Nuno Pinto, but Pinto has obviously improved a little bit since then. So close qualifying this. Really is, such a brilliant session to commentate on.
I think now we're going to start seeing all the fuel come out, all the qualifying trims come out, all of the, like you said, radiator levels coming right down. I think we're going to start to see drivers absolutely hammering it now for pole position, or to try and get as high up the grid as you can, because although it's a 24-hour race and qualifying in that degree is not that important, you don't want to get caught up in a silly little incident if you're in the middle of the pack on the first lap, especially if you're in, say, like the GT class where you have 20 cars. So, as we saw in the VOMS race, some drivers do try to be a bit more ambitious than others on the first lap. So you want to make sure that you're out of trouble.
Indeed, you're just going back to that. We had an incident in the VLMS race coming up to Dunlop chicane. It wasn't even the mid-pack. It was the first two that came together coming to the chicane. So it just shows that no matter where you are in the field, you can still have an incident on that first lap. As indeed just watching.
I was having a swig of water there. Yes. But it tends to happen more further down the field. I think what happened at the start of the VLMS race was a bit more of a one-off. We also had an incident at Imola, which was, I think, lag-induced, but there's not a huge amount you can do about that. Right at the very start of the race there. But yeah, generally you don't want to be sort of just stuck in the middle of the pack, and it's bragging rights as well. You know, it's huge confidence for whoever actually gets pole position or the front row start or whatever. If you are planning on starting with, say, for example, your most gentlemanly or gentlewomanly driver, you might want to start towards the back so that they can try and stay out of trouble, rather than starting on pole position and getting absolutely swamped. So there can be that little bit of gamesmanship into play, but generally you're going to want to start with probably a quicker driver. Try and get some sort of lead and see where you go from there. I know in the VMS we, apart from at Le Mans, we always start with one of our quicker drivers. And perhaps it was a bad thing that we didn't start with a quick drive at Le Mans, considering how our race went.
Indeed, but the English racing car tends to go fast. Well, the four drivers tend to go fast, slow, fast, really, a bit like a relay race. So just wanted to try and get those really fast stints at the beginning of the race to try and get you the best position at the end when it possibly will matter most.
Possibly, well, to a degree we're also restricted by, you know, real life things, but, so our running order was sometimes impaired by that. But, well, yeah, we're also impaired by, hardware issues for one of our drivers at Le Mans, which meant we had to start with Campbell, good old Campbell Wallace, and that ended well.
Indeed, just having a look back, there was a little bit of an incident between Wisniewski and one of the Velis GT cars. I'm just trying to have a quick look what one it was. It was indeed the 89, just coming through Tetra Rouge. It seems like Wisniewski was maybe a little bit caught out by the speed of the GT going through Tetra Rouge and had a little bit of a rear to front contact there and caused the GT car to go spinning towards the inside and Wisniewski's front bodywork falling off. So perhaps that's just something else. You've just got to be very wary of the speed differentials between the different classes.
That's the sort of thing that I would have expected more in practice than in qualifying, but you never know. You know, Wisniewski could be on an absolute flyer whilst the GT car might have still been pounding around on race fuel, just getting some rubber down and getting used to the track. But that probably won't sit that particularly well with the stewards, especially if both drivers were on a quick lap. But yeah, it's one of those things, I suppose. You've got to be very, very careful, especially with these slower cars, because there are so many GTs. They're going to be your mobile chicanes, for sure.
And speaking of the GTs, just having a look down one of our VLMS invites, the 175 Ahmed Demirkan at the wheel. That's the Caspian Motorsports car, currently third in class in GTs, certainly showing the VEC drivers how to do this.
Certainly is a second, like an entire second off the next car, but they're still very, very impressive. The Caspian car is one of the quicker and more well-drilled teams, I think, in the VLMS. They always seem to time their pit stops immaculately. All of their drivers were really quick as well, and they're always towards the front of the field, if I remember rightly. I don't think we ever finish ahead of them, so...
Not finish ahead of them at the Red Bull Ring?
I can't remember who finished ahead of us at the Red Bull Ring. All I remember was that we somehow got a podium, so... They might have had penalties, so...
You seeing the Caspian car being a full second behind Yunus Revie on the 89 car. The 89 and the 84 are just half a tenth of a second separating the two of them. And then there's that massive gap to Demirkan in the Caspian Motorsports car. Then all the GT cars are really close against. It appears that the 84 and the 89 car are just in a little bit of a league of their own at the moment here around Le Mans.
84 and 89, which cars are they? They're both Corvettes,
They are both Corvettes. It's the dark racing car is the 84 and the Vel Simsport's the 89.
So I'm wondering if the Corvettes are just a teeny bit quicker, or whether those two teams in particular have found some sort of magic trick with the setup, which is help them find that extra second. It might be, like I said earlier, it might be just a tiny little bit of downforce, which just gives that extra little bit of stability through the Porsche curves, and you can find so much time through there.
We've actually got 6 non-Corvettes in the field at the moment. We've got 3 Ferraris, we've got a Porsche, an Aston Martin, and a BMW. All the rest are those Corvette C7Rs. The only Porsche we've got in the field is the 54 car. It's 33rd at the moment, the Atlantic car. The only BMW we've got is that Caspian Motorsport car, that 175. So perhaps showing that BMW was a little bit underestimated for these VEC teams. And the only Aston Martin that we've got is the 71 car, currently 27th overall. That's the Talking Door Racing car.
You say that is now down to 29th in class, as a 3-wide motorsport car jumps up into 9th in class. Well, it doesn't seem to be any one particularly bad car in GT, but it just seems as if the Corvette might just be a tiny bit quicker. But then again, they might be a little bit slower in race trim. They might use a little bit more fuel. They might be hopeless in the wet. You never know.
Indeed, and of course, looking at the weather for Saturday, at the moment it looks like it may be raining, or at least a drying track for the beginning of the race, and for the rest of the time it looks like it should be dry. So perhaps a very interesting start to the race, because you certainly don't want to throw it away in the first corner for 24 hours.
Now, if it was raining at the start, what I would probably do is either chuck in your quickest driver or your slowest driver. If you're going to anticipate a lot of code 80s, chuck in your slowest driver and use up some of his time. But if you're anticipating lots of green flag running, you're going to want your quickest driver in, so you can try and make up a lot of ground when the conditions are adverse, so you don't have your slow driver pounding around trying to find speed when it's wet and potentially, crashing the car. But then again, at this level, I'm kind of expecting all of the drivers to be very close. Ooh, that is a car going very slightly wide, coming through Gulf into Indianapolis.
Indeed, Indianapolis, I would say possibly the most difficult corner on the track to get the car slowed down for, because you have got that kink, and it's very difficult to get the car settled between that kink, braking for the left-hander, and obviously you've got a little bit of weight transitions there as well.
Yeah, that's certainly a thing. Obviously I have no experience of pounding around there in the LMP1s or the LMP2s, but in the GT it's particularly tricky to get the line right and then be able to slow for the succeeding corner, and then because it's banked as well, you try to take quite a lot of speed through there, and quite often you can just understeer straight into the gravel. It's a very, very difficult corner to get right. And then you come up after that corner, you got Arnage, which is probably the slowest corner on the track. It's such a clumsy little, it's almost a little bit off camber. So it's one of those really clumsy little corners where it's just so easy to lose time, and it doesn't feel rewarding at all to get it right. But because you've got such a long straight afterwards, well, I say long, it's nothing compared to many of the other straights on the track. It's still a really long straight. It's really important to get it right.
Yeah, crucial that it's gotten right and done correctly. And, you know, so many places on this circuit here at Le Mans where you just got to get things right. You've got the runs onto the straights, that can cost you a couple of kilometres an hour if you don't get it right. You've got the tight corners, they're going to be crucial at the time because there's not much of them, so they need to be getting right. And even just the setup as well needs to be set right. You've got too much downforce, you're going to lose vital straight line speed. Not enough, you're not going to have the stability. Le Mans demands perfection.
Indeed, as apparently Nico in the number 2 DHR car has set a purple first sector. I'll keep an eye on him to see what he does for the rest of the lap.
Is this the 319? I'm going to be very, very confident in Wisniewski's ability and say this is going to be a 319. It just feels like a 319 so far. I'm going to keep an eye on him as he uses the draft from, I believe, Thomas Luthi or whoever's driving the 139 Drake car. You keep an eye on his sector times, Neil Heatley. I'll keep an eye on where he is on track as he comes into Indianapolis. Uses the banking source through it. You'd think it was a full-on open wheeler with the amount of downforce it makes. Though prototypes do make similar downforce to modern open wheel cars. And while Wisniewski's coming round into the Porsche curves now, the run before that, this is looking like a solid lap from the pole.
Indeed, that LMP1 car looking absolutely planted.
Looks so solid, doesn't it, Wisniewski, as he comes into the Porsche curves. So easy to get wrong. Oh, he clips the curb and he's gone, brother, he's gone too wide. He's gone too wide into the wall. Boof, goes the Audi and he was pushing it too hard. Well, that's the dedication that you know you can give when you get a purple sector. But will he be able to replicate it? That was so good a lap, but again, just goes to show what happens when you push it too hard around Le Mans. It can punish you. And if that happens in the race, to any of these teams, they're going to feel it.
And you can see just how little runoff there is there, and how easy it is to do that. The margins are so fine in the Porsche curves, is what makes them such a challenge. That's why so many drivers around the world reveres that part of track. It is amongst one of the finest pieces of circuit design out there, along with, like, for example, the Maggots and Beckett section at Silverstone and the S's up the hill at Suzuka.
Yeah, so difficult to get right, the Porsche curves, and Nick Wisniewski, well, you get the feeling he was on for the 19 there. He would have gone for the 19 or bust there, wouldn't he, Neil?
Indeed, and of course Craig was saying, you know, about doing that in the race and that's your race over. You won't be pushing nearly that hard in the race. This is just purely qualifying pace.
Yeah, he was absolutely on it there. And I tell you what, I said Stephen Bailey has more time in him. He's cracked the 320s. He's on a 320.5. Just 0.3 down on Wisniewski, his own teammate. I said Bailey had more time in him. I wasn't lying. He is within 0.3 of the pole. This is
just...
It'll be interesting to see, definitely, how Bailey gets on in this session, because we know how quick he is. But can he even go for pole position? I reckon he could.
Radio's just gone pole in the 89 car, 20th position overall. This is, of course, for the LMGT. That 89 car is now on pole provisionally for the GT class.
By 0.7 of a second almost. That's a huge margin. It's nearly 2 seconds quicker than the GT Italia 91 car, driven by Alessandro Protti. That is massive.
Yeah, that is a huge gap. And, well, the Porsche curves, I believe, have caught somebody else. I've just seen Eric Strana go around them and then slow down. Maybe got something slightly wrong there. Strana is now stopped on track, so that has not gone well for the Magenta Warriors team. But, yeah, was going well. Now it doesn't seem to be going so well.
No, he's just parked at right by pit entry, which is a interesting place.
I think I know what this is. Might be waiting for a driver swap. We've seen this in VEC before, where cars just wait when the drivers aren't ready. Didn't know we'd be seeing it in qualifying, but Strana waiting around, just in a safe place, of course. Not far off the track, but not really in the way either. Just waiting potentially for a driver change.
No, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's well offline, so it's not impeding anybody.
He's just sitting there waiting his turn, really, and rightly as he should be. You know, he's doing it in a safe manner, so props to him for that. Anyway, I've just noticed Osvaldo Angeloni in the one outward car as well in 7th, so multiple driver swaps going on. Obviously not everyone on a lap, but those who are pushing hard. Nick Wisniewski pushing very hard. He's actually, yeah, he's gone off there. I think this is his out lap. I think he's just trying to set it up with 20 minutes to go. But Wisniewski, you can tell he wants a 319.
Absolutely. Now we're into the final 20 minutes of this session now, so we're really into crunch time. You can see the sun setting beautifully in wonderful DX11 quality now. It is absolutely glorious, and I think we're seeing a lot of driver changes to get the really quick guys in. I think a lot of teams have gone and got a driver to do just a couple of stints just to familiarise themselves and simulate what will happen in the race, which is by no means a bad thing, and now we're getting the quick guys in to really hammer it around.
This is where the qualifying times really start to come out, and you know, we start to get the real top times in these last closing stages of the session. This is where the track is at its optimum, the cars are at their optimum, the drivers are at their optimum, and maybe some driver changes have happened. But still, it's going to be interesting to see what sort of times come out of this session now that we have the top sort of conditions.
I'll say that track conditions are really good, but surprisingly about a quarter of the field is stuck in the pits at the moment, which I'm finding really interesting. I would have thought all of the cars would be out there at the moment, but perhaps some of them are just trying to wait for some space. I don't know whether many of them have got someone keeping an eye on the tracker to try and find a little bit of room. There are little bits of spaces around at the moment, but just because it's there now, because of the vast differences between the cars and the classes, that gap might not be there in 7 or 8 minutes when you've gone and done your out lap and your hot lap.
Yeah, you know, that gap might not exist anymore, and well, you know, that's the thing. They can be fleeting, these gaps sometimes, and well, they can exist, they can not exist. And I do believe on stream at the moment we are live with the SRVN GT car on board. And it's a good time, really. Not necessarily take a full on-board lap, but to see how the GTs deal with this track. And that Ferrari, a lovely sounding car. I'm just going to hush for a couple of seconds so we can listen to that V8 roar down the back end of the Mulsanne Straight. Sound you're very familiar with, isn't it, Craig Wallard?
Brings back memories of, well, catching fire, pretty much, and fluking a podium at the Red Bull Ring.
In your case, perhaps, but Neil Heatley has some fond memories of seeing this car do well, I'm sure.
Indeed, you speaking about the Red Bull Ring, completely Campbell Wallace's wheel deciding to reset itself on the last lap under code 80 and almost causing the DNF from the podium position. But indeed, apparently Wisniewski is on a fast lap, just coming through Virage Corvette now. The final part of the Porsche car is coming through Maison Blanche. Just going to see what he does coming down to the Ford chicanes.
Yeah, negative Wisniewski into the final 4, goes left then right, he'll go left and right once more. It's looked like a good lap from Nicodem, but the question is, will it be an improvement? Will we see a 319 cross at the start-finish line? We will not.
20.8, 6/10 of his slowing time.
That is not bad, though, all things considered, and I'm sure he's lining a good lap up. But Wisniewski, well, I'm sure if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him. But Joe Chandler's still only 100th off. That's how close he is.
Do my eyes deceive me, or has Jakovic improved a little bit?
I think there's not much in it. There's not much in it either way. On a 320.350, there's really not much in it. So he might have improved slightly, but there's not much.
0.11 seconds separating the three manufacturers at the moment. That is remarkable.
You've got the top 9 basically within a second. You know, there's so little in it. That is remarkable stuff. But yeah, to go back to the GTs and to go back to SRVN, Grant Balin's actually just crossing the start finish line now. I don't think he's improved on this particular lap. Doing a very good job at the moment to stay within, as far as he is, the likes of Rivio. They were leading the session points, SRVN, really pulling out the stops for Lamont.
Yeah, they might have peaked a little bit early in the session. You never know. But well, or maybe they still haven't gone all out. But yeah, they're doing a good job at the moment. He's had a little bit of traffic troubles by the looks of it as well. But he's got a pretty clean track ahead of him, it seems, although there is a car directly behind him. I can't quite tell who it is, but he's coming up quite close, quite quickly.
Yeah, Balin definitely showing himself, you know, to be a good driver this season, throughout the season with SRVN, and very capable, of course, in everything he's done so far at SRC. So, you know, SRVN as a team have had high points, have had low points, as I think a lot of teams have, but doing a good job at the moment on the Dutch outfit. And of course, that very striking Dutch orange car looking very nice in our DirectX 11 broadcast. Definitely one of the more visible cars in the grid, isn't it?
You're
not going to miss it.
I do like the wide range of colours used in this field. It makes some real world series have to hang their head in shame, I think, a bit. With some of the creativity.
Oh my God! Nicodem does a McNish coming down the tertiary.
Oh dear, no, Nicodem. Oh no, that wasn't what he wanted. This late in the session, he's what's happened is he's becoming intertwined, entangled with the no limit car. Then he's lost it as the S's. What's happened is that he went to the inside. I think the no limit car was there. Nicodem made contact. Maybe actually, yeah, he had to go very far inside, and then they still hit him. Then he came across, got some sick airtime coming into the S's, it must be said. Then hits the barrier. Well, I'll tell you this. He gets a 10 out of 10 for the airtime, practically turning it into an Audi rally car, but the landing wasn't so good.
He'll be very glad that this is sim racing and not real life racing, because he can just drive straight back out and go and try and be quick again. If that was real life, he would have had a rather
trip to the medical centre.
Yes, and would have had a lot of explaining to do to his mechanics, who would have had to try and rebuild that machine.
Might have been a bit sore after that crash, but yeah, the glory of sim racing, you can just get out and do it again. You can go straight back out and have another crack at it. And again, it's one of the other things about sim racing, there's like so many bright cars, you know? A lot of sim racing painters, you know, they're a market that we don't really talk about much. The people who paint these cars, you know, the people who go out and design these cars, the teams can sometimes ask for some quite outrageous, outlandish cars.
Oh, definitely. I think it was when the McLaren F1 car was revealed this year, and they said how they basically had 3 or 4 different people designing that one livery, and you just don't get the individuality come through when you have 3 or 4 people designing on what things go where. And then, you know, you look at the car now and it's just a little bit of a mess. Somehow, remarkably, it's just orange and black, and have made it a complete mess. Whereas you get some people here on their own, give them a few hours of Photoshop, and they come out with these absolute masterpieces. It amazes me how they do it. I try and have a go myself, and I'm just absolutely nowhere near that sort of standard. I think I've made 1 or 2 nice cars ever, in sim racing. So.
Yeah, it just goes to show really there is, you know, pride to be had even from if you're the one who designs the cars. And looking for the field, I can't, you know, that DHR car is one of my favourites. It's just so striking in its colours, you know, really just looks so sensational. That DHR car, definitely one of my favourites in the LMP1 field. And you can't go wrong with a simple colour combination like dark blue, white and red sometimes, can you?
Absolutely. It is quite a nice livery. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm starting to talk a bit like Mika Hakkinen now, so.
Yeah, well,
I think Kasdorf, number 21, might be on for a good lap.
yes, Yuri Kasdorf. He's not done in that. Again, another lovely looking car, the Velis car, the number 21.
But I do think Bailey might be on for something special here in the number 3 car. Just got to look, we've got GT cars in front of him though. Just got to see where he catches them.
Oh, I hope they do. Oh, look at that, he's gone out of the way. He's gone past straight away.
We'll
keep an eye on.
But Kasdorp has caught up to a Porsche.
Keep an eye on Bailey. Kasdorp appears to have caught a Porsche. And oh, he's gone off. Kasdorp's gone off.
Yep, Kasdorp's aborted. And
That's
Bailey's
done.
had to go wide. That's not going to help him.
He's had to go wide, but it hasn't really lost him that much time. He could at least go around the outside of the Porsche. Coming down to the 4 chicanes. What can he do? 10 seconds to go to try and improve his lap time.
Let's see what Stephen Bailey can do coming around the final 4 chicane. We know how good he is. We know how consistent he is. What will the lap time be from Stephen Bailey as he comes across the start finish? He hasn't improved. He hasn't improved.
He appear to have lost a lot of time in that final sector, perhaps going around the outside of
yeah.
That is a shame.
That car around the long right-hander curves.
He had to completely miss the apex because it's such a long winding corner. You really have to nail that apex. But oh well, he's going to have to try and find a bit of room. He's only got 9 minutes to do it now. So, and people pulling off and returning to the pits and having to go out and do an outlap again. That's going to wind down the clock, so you're only going to get 2 or 3 more laps in this session.
If anyone has the consistency and the drive to do it, though, it's Stephen Bailey. I mean, we've said that about Wisniewski, but let's not forget how talented he is. I mean, we saw him so much in Season 8. Again, really one of the solid drivers, a core part of Doug Henson. Great to have him back, of course. Did some work for us on this track, of course, with the advertisements. Big thanks to Bailey for that. But, you know, in the driving capacity, absolutely one of the best we have. So if anyone can do it, I reckon it could be him. We'll keep an eye on him, though, because, you know, anyone, I think, could go pole in this session with how close it is.
I'm looking a little bit further down into the LMP2 class, and Jans has got nearly a second on second place still. So that looks at the moment as if that might be done and dusted. However, between second place all the way down to sort of 5th place in that class, it's very close. There's about a second within that as well. So that, you know, a front row start in that particular class is still up for grabs. And then there's a big gap further down through the field from there on. In GT, it's still it's the Velis car now that's top. I think
Ravio at the wheel, yeah.
Yes, with 3 minutes 54, and he's just gone slightly quicker, literally a hundredth and a half quicker. 3 minutes 54.8, which is considerably quicker than my personal best around Le Mans in the Ferrari. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, you know, everyone's got a different amount of abilities. Negative Wisniewski's broken it into the 19s. We've seen one. I was going to say his lap looked great, but we've got a 19 from Wisniewski, and what a 19 it is. It's a 19.7 from the pole, and I don't think that's going to be beaten. I think that is our pole time for this session. Negative Wisniewski doesn't just go into pole, he storms it with a 19.719.
Half a second.
Half a second faster than Jammer.
An absolutely wonderful lap from the 2 car there.
I think Ciampa's just started a lap now. So let's see what he can do.
I sensed it. I did say, didn't I? I sensed the 319 was coming this session, and Nikitin Wisniewski, just like Dick Turpin, has stood and he's delivered. He has given us a 319, and Joe Ciampa has started a lap.
Oh, no,
he's ended a lap. He's aborted it. He knows he's got to be perfect.
Alright, let's see what Djakovic can do. I think he might be on a lap because he's just flashed his lights at a GT. So he definitely...
To be honest, he does that a lot of the time, though.
Oh,
well, yeah, I should be
Nicky
aware.
Djakovic is flashing his lights at the GT as well. Nicky Djakovic is not one who's not afraid to use his lights to get GTs out of the way. We've seen that this season.
I think.
Is he on a lap? He's flashing his lights.
That is how determined he is. Look at the speed he's taken to the Porsche curves.
Very wide through.
Oh, and he's lost it. Djakovic into the wall. Well, that's how determined he is. He's so quick, though, through the Porsche curves. Was giving no quarter.
Right, all of these drivers that are now going out, these top three, have all left the pit lane. They're only going to have one lap to go.
Yeah, whereas the likes of Oyala have two. Oyala's actually coming to the Ford chicanes.
If it's coming to the Ford chicanes, but I think it's got P2 traffic.
Well, he's in a Nissan. He should be able to get past it in the straight line areas. That much is for certain. Oyala might actually have a good shot here. He comes out the start finish. What's he going to do? Oh, he's going to have a slight toe, but it's not going to be enough to improve. But he gets past. Well, we got the likes of Oyala, Gomez, Bailey, all going to have potential laps in. I think Stephen Bailey's probably going to get 2 laps, so he's lucky in that sense. But, yeah, Wisniewski is going to have 1 or 2. Ciampa's only going to get 1 or 2. You know, this is the closing time now. This is final chances, last orders at the bar for these drivers.
So yeah, they've really got to... This is the time where they've just got to get their head down, focus on what's ahead of them, and hammer it, and then pray that they don't come across a GT in the middle of the Porsche curves or Tetra Rouge or somewhere.
Any GT cars in the pits just now are not going to make it back round, but I do believe that they are all out. Oh, sorry, they're not all out. No. Daniel Maybach in 33rd place. Dennis Hadlack and Alessandro Puotti are not going to make it back round. Stefan Holtzkamp, 16th place at the moment. He might be that might be right on the edge of making it back round. And Luca Rodelli is in the pits in 10th place. That's number 5 Scuderia GT Italia car. But Puotti, Hadlack, Maybach are definitely not going to get laps, and Holtzkamp, it might be a little bit squeaky.
Holtzkamp is on the cusp indeed. We've got cars doing laps though. This session is not over, and it won't be over until the final moment. Nikitin Wisniewski's come up against the One Argo car. Now hopefully he'll be able to get through quickly as he can, because he needs really just for his own personal improvement. I think at this point he wants to go faster than the 319, but you know, Ciampa's coming up with GT traffic. Well, he's just going to have to hope he can get the best lap possible. Ciampa, Djakovic will want to go faster. Oyala will. This is not over.
I'm looking at the track map though, and Djakovic is going to come up against a lot of traffic on his lap, and I think Wisniewski is going to do exactly the same thing. I think they might have all timed it pretty poorly.
Well, Wisniewski's actually just got held up by the One Argo car.
Oh yes, he got held up. That's not going to help. Although the One Argo car being driven by Angeloni, probably on an out lap too. They have as much right to be on a lap as Nikitin is. He won't be a happy Paul, but Angeloni, the Venezuelan, is going to want to have to do a lap too.
Wisniewski is on an out lap.
It
appears that Angeloni is on a fast lap.
Oh, he's just trying to stick behind him then, keep a toe going. That's what he'll be doing, just trying to keep behind him. Angeloni, though, is on a full-on out lap, and if he makes a mistake, that's not going to be good for him by any means, but...
I don't see why he's just loitering behind them, to be honest.
He's just trying to, I think he's trying to get a good run down the front straight, isn't it? And doesn't want to interfere with the lap.
Oh, that's a bit of debris that Angeloni has run over.
Oh, you see, he's backing out now. Backing out now is Nick, and I'm trying to get some clean air. But Angeloni running over some debris in that One Argo car. Let's see if Angeloni can improve on his time. We'll see if he does as he comes across the start-finish sort of area. Angeloni, I don't think, has improved.
Nope.
But he will get one more crack of the whip.
23 dead that last lap for Angeloni. But indeed, one last lap to go for all of these cars.
Yep, Ciampa, Djakovic, Wisniewski, all going to get one more shot! Crash in front of Wisniewski! No. That is a 3-way, and Ciampa is ahead of it! Not going to have to worry though, Wisniewski though, not going to get another lap in. 3:19.719 is his closing time.
I think Djakovic avoided all that.
Jakovic getting out the way, yeah. Let's see if he did. I'm just watching the replay of that. If see Nicky did get through. But yeah, Nicky Jakovic. Oh yeah, he just got out of the way nicely. Oh no, he spun though. He's lost it. Jakovic has bent it. Now Joe Chamba, the biggest threat. This could be interesting. Oh, Yarla's been held up. He's not going to get it done. Gomez is maybe not going to get it. Well, oh, Yarla might not. Gomez might have a chance. But Joe Chamba and the GNS, the biggest threat now.
You guys remember that Bailey's out on track as well.
Bailey
Oh, you got to remember Stephen Bailey's there too. Just as much of a threat. But Joe Chamba in second.
Off. The 21 car will not go faster.
Oh, you see, everyone, it's the pressure of the moment. People are making mistakes in their final laps. And, well, it's going to be so interesting to see who goes where now.
And Kasdorf has just left, which is not going to be helpful for us.
It's not going to be helpful by any means. No, I think it's at times like this we need people like Neil Heatley who can keep an eye on sector times to give us updates. Has just been,
he keeps it flat out through Maison Blanche. Gomez coming up behind a GT, but he keeps it flat out anyway. Let's see what Gomez can do.
I think he may just. I think he's just kept it with the track limits.
His own lap time.
But he's got 1 lap left because he's crossed the line.
No, he hasn't. That's the checkers.
No, he's crossed the line with just a second to go.
Well, that's cutting it close there. That is cutting it close. I wonder how Joe Chamba's doing.
Champa's just coming through Indianapolis through Arnage now.
Yeah.
Might be quite a nice lap here from Champa. We've just got to see, but he's got a couple of P2s ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got to hope really. He's got to hope he can find some more time. He's got to beat that 3:19.719 by Wisniewski.
It should be fine. He really shouldn't catch up these P2 cars, hopefully, through here. Through the first right-hander, going up the hill, the long left-hander. That really is kind of a double apex, grabbing another gear, going down, diving back down, long right-hander.
He's got to watch it here. He has caught them.
Ahead of him.
He's caught them. He's got to be careful.
Well, though, I think.
Oh, they're going off just to let Champa through.
Very
massive
thrilling.
wiggle there from Champa.
Hopefully that hasn't ruined his lap, but this is his one big chance. You imagine Stephen Bailey's aborted his lap, but he's gone up to 5th. He stopped. Oh, he is stuck behind the Seawolf car right at the end. Hopefully it's not going to stop him. Champa from the outside, and it has held him up right at the end. An altercation, and Joe Champa will be gutted because that might have been a potential pole chance. But yeah, that is not good for him. I think Pedro Gomez has just clipped the inside of the corner too much there.
Gomez is the last P1 car out on track. How many P2s are on track? I think we'll find that Jans is still on track. He's still quickest by nearly a second.
Jans is fourth this lap, it looks like. We've got Jason Holden-Jones in the 31 still. We've got Capel in the 40 still out. And we've got Carantha in the 32 still out, and that's it for the P2s.
What about in GT? There's not a lot of
Wire
action in
in
GT.
the 54 car. We've got Marinaro in the Texas Quarter Course of 68, Cracked in the 76. He's just actually finished his lap. And that's it. So really got only about 4 cars left on track.
The action seems to be in P2 at the moment. Well, there's only a couple of cars out on there, but you never know. They might be able to find a little bit. I think those who have left it until the last minute, when there's only a couple of cars on track, might have timed it immaculately, because you look at Gomez has got no cars in front of them at all for the remainder of this lap.
Yeah, Jason Holden-Jones in that flatline racing car at the moment, potentially going to take the threat to Anthony Jans, who's in 8th overall after a couple of people have left the session, which isn't going to help things, of course. But yeah, Jans in current P2.
Capella came into the pits.
Yeah, Jans in current P2, but Holden-Jones just gets a bit of a slide onto the Porsche curves there. It's going to be interesting to see where he plays. Oh, Yuri Kasdorf's back too late. Oh, that's not helped Yuri. But yeah, Holden-Jones with all of the oversteer, I think he's going to lose time. That has not helped him through there. Yeah, JHJ may not be able to improve from here on in, but Holden-Jones is going to try anyway. Clips 1, clips 2, now clips 3, now clips 4. Will it be an improvement from the South African? Might not be at this rate, but we'll see if it is. I don't think he has improved. No, he hasn't.
Nope, and I think that's it.
And that is it.
That is it. That is everyone done.
So for now, at least, we have some pole position times in, and it's Nikitin Wisniewski in the DHR number 2 that grabs pole in LMP1. Anthony Jans who gets it in LMP2. And, of course, in the GT field, Jonas Raivio near the top of the order in pole position. And, of course, this is not the end. We have another qualifying session tomorrow. I don't think I'll be there, but for now, at least, that is it for qualifying. So, remember, this is not the end of qualifying. There are more times. We may see even more provisional pole times hit tomorrow, but the threat of rain is in the air. So you never know what is going to happen. But either way, we have had qualifying for this time round at least, and it's been really, really interesting to have, hasn't it, Neil Heatley?
Indeed, an absolutely extraordinary session. Wisniewski in those 19s to that DHR car. Jans with an absolutely fantastic lap in the P2 field, and of course that extremely close battle at the head of the GT pack. So we've got another 2 hours to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, we do. I am shattered after that. That was a good quality session, wasn't it, Craig?
That was a pretty good session, I think, to make my commentary debut on. I haven't looked at any of the comments at all, but I'm fairly sure that I haven't been brutally murdered in there, so...
Yeah, well, I'm sure everyone's appreciated the job you've done and the job everyone involved at SRC has done for this broadcast. But for now, at least, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. It's been a pleasure to have you along for this qualifying session. Join us tomorrow at 2200 Central European Time for the next qualifying session. But until then, I've been Josh Anderson. He's been Neil Heatley. He's been Craig Wallard. And from everyone at simracing.club and the Virtual Endurance Championship, it is a very, very French au revoir.